Hello and welcome, Lynx here, and today I believe this is the last episode of Your Glass Heart in My Hands by ebi-hime. At least this is the last visible story, so I assume we are approaching the end. So I assume it's going to be another 2 hours long video, which I actually cannot edit on the same day. So today you will be getting but well, when you're watching this, yesterday basically, you are getting a endless video. Yeah, because I will not have the time right now to also spend, well, I guess another like hour and a half to edit, render and so on. But tomorrow I'll do it. Yeah, let us begin. You continue to drift in the darkness. It submerges you like tar, like oil. There is something oddly reassuring about the darkness, something soothing. Up. It's time to wake up. But you cannot drift forever. There are people who are worrying about you, people who care for you. Surely they must care, for you can hear a voice calling to you through the veil of darkness, a voice which stirs memories deep within you. You recognize that voice. You are sure you know this speaker, for you can put a name or a face to them, not just yet, at least. Beth, it is time to wake up! And this realization is like a flickering candle, one which soon turns into a burning beacon. This light, no, this fire fills you, scoring you from your tip to your toe. You are assailed by memories, phantom sounds and smells. You recall the cracking of wood, the flickering of flames. Motes of fire dance beneath your closed lids, threatening to burn you from the inside out. You shiver, for you do not understand why. Fire ought to be hot, and yet... Beth! I will not ask you again. Wake up, you silly girl. You cannot keep sleeping now. You fear if you continue to drift, these burning flames will finally consume you. Your lungs will fill with thick, acrid smoke, and then you will choke to death while all else burns around you. You do not want to endure that again. Seems kinda cozy. So you force yourself to open your eyes, even though it hurts. The back of your head is throbbing, and there is an unpleasant taste on your tongue, an unpleasant stench in your nostrils. The smell is sharp and rank, acidic and acrid. It is the stench of neglect, disuse, dereliction and dust. Really, is this place neglected? I mean, maybe. It's hard to tell, to be honest. I will believe you. And beneath it all, you swear you can catch a lingering smell of smoke. You lie there, dazed and disoriented. Your eyes might be open, but you still have no idea where you are. Scarcely any idea who you are. Oh boy. That is quite a huge problem then. Pain continues to drop in the back of your skull, slow and dull and regular. You feel sick. You wish you had never woken up, but you had no other choice. You know you cannot sleep forever. I mean, eventually. Yeah, okay. Now I can see that it is the way you described it. Is this like an abandoned hospital or something? That's creepy! You blink, dispersing white spots which swim in front of your vision, and look around grudgingly. You still have no idea where you are, and that awful stench is making you feel sick. Anyone else? I mean, I'm not in a hospital a lot, luckily enough. You could say I barely ever go there, basically. How many times have I had to? Personally, I was there twice. Or 3 times. Once when I was born. Second, when my appendix was cut out. And third, when I had to do just the basic checkup for the work. That were my visits to the hospital. Well, I guess I had to drive my grandfather once and so on. Well, regarding myself, I don't visit that place basically at all. Hopefully it was still like that. Anyway. You blink, dispersing white spots which swim in front of your vision, and look around grudgingly. You still have no idea where you are, and that awful stench is making you feel sick. Hello. Oh, you are smoking? Damn it. She is, well, at least at the moment, the best looking girl in this game for.
Oh, I see you have finally come to. I was beginning to worry you wouldn't wake up this time. You put me through quite a lot of stress, you awful girl.
Oh boy. Are we playing Nope Nope Nurses now?
Really will be the death of me one day.
But you soon realize that you are not alone. There is a woman standing by your bedside. A tall, gaunt woman who looks alarmingly skeletal. What? Nah. The woman is skinny to the point of emaciation, with pale flesh. I agree with the pale, which sits a bit too close to her bones. Her eyes are an unsettling crimson. I freaking love crimson eyes, but that's only anime. And her under eyes are dark. The bags beneath her eyes are so black her irises look as though they are set into 2 blank staring holes. This also offers the peculiar woman an uncanny quality, as if she's observing you from a great distance. Her hair is dark and it struggles loosely around her shoulders, shoulders which are gaunt, sharp and bony just like the rest of her. She wears the attire of a nurse. White apron, a blue gown, white stock. How do you know that? White stockings and black boots. And her mouth is concealed by a surgical mask. You cannot see her mouth, but you can gauge her expression from those awful eyes of hers alone. How dare you call them awful? She's looking at you with a detached sort of curiosity, as a scientist might observe a specimen, one which has been pinned down on a board ready to be dissected. Her intrigue in you is of a surgical kind. Her red irises so unnerving, you shudder. You cannot say you trust this woman. But at least your dreams of fire have faded into the background. You cannot think of fire when you look at this woman. She's much too cold for it, an ice sculpture brought to life. You look at the nurse uneasily. You do not trust her, but you still ask her where you are. What is going on? You have nobody else, after all, to turn to for answers. She's the only other person here you can talk to.
Oh,
the nurse raises an eyebrow.
Do you know not where you are?
Mutely, perhaps meekly, you shake your head. The nurse looks at you coldly. You think that everything she does must be called, and then says,
And do you know who you are?
This question is even more pointed than the last. It lacerates you, just like broken glass, and you tremble. This ought to be easy enough to answer. How can you not know who you are? And yet, you should know this. The answer is on the tip of your tongue. But when you try to grope for it, you are met with nothing save, well, nothingness. There is a hole in your head where your memories ought to be. You can feel the empty aging luck inside your skull throbbing. Your sense of self has slowly leaked away while you were lying in your hospital bed in this dark and dingy room. You ought to know who you are, but you do not. Your own identity is a mystery to you. You don't know your age, nor your occupation, nor even your name. You could be a queen, for all you know, the sort with the power to order executions. And you would have no idea. You have never felt more lost before. Or at least you think that you have never felt more lost before. How can you be so sure of that, however, when you cannot remember anything past the present? All you know is this hospital bed. The only face you can recall with any clarity is that of your nurse, as she stands beside you. And even then, you can only see half her face. The surgical mask obscures her mouth. You cannot remember the faces of your parents, if you even have any. You cannot recall any brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, nephews and nieces. I don't have any. Family, friends. Rough. You cannot recall a single thing. Mutely you bite the inside of your cheek. You bite a little too hard and your teeth shear through the soft, inviting flesh within. Gee. You called that a little? Blood begins to bubble from the wound, sharp and coppery, and you wince. The nurse meanwhile clicks her tongue.
I'll take that as a no then. That is unfortunate.
Here you wince as if you have failed some sort of test. Have you let her down?
But that's alright. That is what I'm here for.
You cock your head at your nurse curiously. What does she mean by that?
I know who you are.
The nurse continues, her voice a dull monotone.
Even if you don't. That is my job. Now listen, you are a young lady of some renown.
A young lady. You cannot recall being a young lady, but by the same token you cannot remember being a scullery maid. Okay, or a farmer's assistant, or a spinner either. Okay. We might be getting answers from this story. If you have to be anything, you suppose you could do much worse than being a lady. It is only one step from being a princess, which is one step down from being a queen. You had to assume any identity. You could do worse than being a lady. But you could also do that far better. Ladies have less power, after all, than the lords who father them. The lords they wed. True. In most cases. Yes, you think, as you sit there, you would far rather be a lord. Why? You do not know much of yourself, but you cannot imagine you have ever wanted to be a lady.
What? You were out riding.
The nurse says, her voice dispassionate.
On your horse. When you had something of an accident.
An accident?
Indeed. You slipped and you fell. And you broke your leg.
Huh? And that's why she doesn't remember anything? Something does not check out.
I did my best to set your bones, but it will take some time for you to recover. Until then, I must advise that to remain here, undisturbed and unmoved. Naturally, I will check in on you at regular intervals, and I will see that all of your needs are being met. That is what I'm here for.
Ah, you see. You had wondered why your right leg felt so heavy, and why it looks so bulky beneath your sheets. You cannot see the current state of your leg, not with the sheets atop of it, but you imagine you are wearing a cast. You can remember what a cast is, at least, even if you cannot... Whoops. Even if you cannot remember your own name, your old home, your friends, and family. How curious. You must have banged your head rather hard when you fell off your horse. That would be only a logical explanation behind your disorientation. The dull edge inside your skull. You swallow, tasting decay on the air, tasting dust, and you wins. Not surprising. Your fingers curl about your sheets, which are threadbare, and you glance about. You take in your room, dark and drab and decidedly dingy, with peeling walls and a wooden floor and a singular window, small and mean like a prison cell, and you frown. Your nurse says that you are a young lady, but if that is true, why are your surroundings so...
So, derelict, madame?
Yes, that's a good way of terming it. Did she say all of that out loud to the nurse? Or should I say to the doctor? I imagine the nurse would not be putting like a broken bone together on her own. Right. Yeah, that's a good way of terming it. Where you ask your nurse, is this place?
This,
Nurse replies coolly.
is a private sanatorium. Young girls are sent here when they sicken, and we, which is to say, as nurses, do our best to help you recover.
You see, that does make sense, but...
You wish to know why the sanatorium is so run down?
You were wondering that, yes, if she wouldn't mind.
Not at all.
The nurse awareness in a tired sort of voice, which suggests that she does mind quite a lot, in fact.
This sanatorium is something of an experiment.
What do you mean? An experiment?
Our benefactress is an eccentric woman with rather unique, shall we say, beliefs. She, and by she I am referring to one Dr. Godwin,
Okay, so it's not you.
thinks that this newfangled,
Here, the nurse makes a quotation mark with one hand, the hand which isn't holding her cigarette.
hospitals with their sleek white floors and walls are bad for patients.
Maybe?
Her argument is, if the sick are kept in pristine conditions, what motivation will they have to recover?
Right. So you put them in garbage conditions so they get the motivation to get out from there? Is that the thinking? I don't know if that's a good approach. On the other hand, I think everyone, at least in my country, know. Well, what kind of food the hospitals serve, and you'd think, wow, I think their motivation is similar.
They will grow complacent and they will be content to waste away within a hospital bed. It is the belief of Dr. Godwin that cleanliness is not in fact close to godliness. Instead it induces slovenliness.
Doesn't this, like, also induce possibility of getting a different sickness for?
You are here to recover, nothing more, and your parents wish for you to recover as soon as possible so that you might return home. That is why they sent you here. Our healing methods at this sanatorium may seem unorthodox, but they've been proven to work with many patients in the past. We've helped scores of young ladies recover from various ailments, from the mental to the physical. Our patients are sequestered within their own rooms, and they are given little in the way of stimulation. We seek to bore you so extensively that you will have nothing to devote your attention to save recovery.
I mean, sounds like you're trying to drive someone crazy, to be honest. But it's my opinion here.
There is not for you to be do here. No books, nor any games, beyond resting. And there are no unnecessary furnishings which might distract you. These rooms are kept strict and Spartan for your own benefit. And if they are a little run down, well, that only aids us with our goal of recovery. I cannot imagine many girls, especially not young ladies, would wish to stay in a pile like this for very long.
You never know. You never know. The nurse glances about her, her nose wrinkling. You watch as her brow furrows. Then she says,
So, you must do your best to recover. Get a lot of sleep, and who knows, in time you may be able to escape from this place.
the cigarette pinched in the nurse's left hand between her two long, alarmingly skinny fingers burns down slowly as she speaks. You watch the end of the cigarette throughout her little speech. Your irises are fixed to it. You're not sure why, but you find yourself drawn to it. The end of the cigarette is orange. Red, and it smells of ash. A steady plume of grey smoke escapes from it. A plume of smoke which carries with it the unpleasant fog of nicotine. The smell permeates your small room, which looks more like a cell, far more effectively than the weak and frozy sunlight throughout your big-rimmed window. The smell seems to infiltrate everything. It settles upon your bedside table, upon your sheets, upon your shoulders. It fills your nostrils, invades your parted lips, and it seems to coat the inside of your own lungs, so you cough. Wasn't, like, inhaling all of that, right? Worse than actually smoking? I think it was. Pretty sure it was. The nurse watches your... Okay, the coughing sound. Nice. The nurse watches you splatter arcly, unamusedly, and says,
Stop that silliness. You have an issue with your legs, not your lungs. Get your act together.
The nurse sounds wholly unsympathetic to your plight, so much so tears begin to bed in your eyes. Perhaps that is the result of the cigarette smoke? You're not unaccustomed to the smell of cigarette smoke. You have the faintest, vaguest collection of your father smoking his way through expensive cigars, but he has always made you splatter. You cannot stand the stench of it. It clings to everything it touches. Wallpaper and wainscoting and your windpipe alike, and makes you feel sick. In a way, true. But I feel like there are cigarettes that, well, smoke decent. Wait, smoke decent, smell decent. But that's all I would know. I mean, I've never smoked in my life, so. But I've been around people who smoke. So I inhaled only, so that's not good. But yeah. But barely anything really, so I doubt it influenced my insights in a bad way. You shrink in on yourself, your arms winding around your middle. At least you'd not break either of those. I don't know about like cigars and so on. Never seen anyone smoking that. Never been around anyone smoking that and so on. Jesus, why am I yawning so much today? I'm not even tired. You wish the nurse... Maybe I am and I don't feel it. You wish the nurse would not smoke so. Surely that is contrary to your recovery. Wouldn't that also mean that's one of the things that try to get you out of the place for? Make something that annoys you? I would assume. You tell the nurse as much, but she simply shrugs in response.
Why should it matter? This place is meant to be hospitable. I already told you as much.
But is this place not, you ask her tremulously, a hospital? No, it's not.
No, it isn't. It's a sanatorium. Did you not listen to what I was saying?
You did, of course, but you rather thought that hospitals and sanatoriums were one and the same. No, they are not. Come on. Even I know that.
Well, that is your mistake.
The nurse says waspishly.
At your own ignorance that play, they are not the same.
No?
No. We do things differently in the sanatorium, but it's all for your own good. You would do better not to question me, else it will impede your recovery. You do want to get better, don't you?
Of course you do, but...
Then do not ask any more questions. Do not make any suggestions. It is not your place. As a patient, you have
patience.
As a patient, you have no voice. There is nothing you can say which can sway me. Your only job is to recover. Until your leg has healed, you cannot integrate into society. And if you cannot integrate with society, that means you are no longer human.
Ooh. Not a human?
No, indeed. In your current state, lying in that bed, you're like a rat. Or even less than a rat. At least they can scamper. If you try to stand up, however, you would soon collapse.
I mean, she could try walking on one leg. So hopping, basically, but...
Do you want to try that?
You note an uncomfortable degree of intrigue in your nurse's eyes and you shudder. You cannot say that you have much of a desire to try that, no.
That is what I thought.
Your nurse says triumphantly.
Now, I believe I have answered enough of your questions. It is high time I left. I do have other patients to tend to, you know.
If your nurse treats her other patients the same way that she has been treating you, you feel rather sorry for them. Unless they are into that, I guess. But you know better than to express this sentiment. You might be somewhat impetuous. You get the feeling you have always been something of a chatterbox. Unusually so for a young lady, but you are not stupid. Yet you don't know the difference between a hospital and a sanatorium, huh? You know when it is best to keep your mouth shut. And keeping your mouth shut seems like the most sensible course of action in your nurse's company. If she insists upon smoking all the time, then you would prefer not to breathe in these acrid fumes. She says that her smoking is in the interest of your recovery. But you are tempted to call her bluff on that one. You rather think that your nurse is doing whatever she wants, all in the service of making you squirm.
I'll be going now,
your nurse says, after a small pause. She waits, perhaps hoping you will ask for her to tarry a minute, to stay by your side, to think twice about abandoning you, please. But you do not say any of those things. So in a way we're getting another one of those characters. We had one that was not saying what she would mean to say, and this one doesn't say at all. Interesting. In a way, maybe that's the sign of the downfall. That you are not true to yourself. Anyhow, you do not want to give her the satisfaction, and anyway, you think you would prefer if she did leave. You could not say that this meeting has been particularly pleasant.
I'll see you later.
Your nurse says stiffly, once she realizes no pleas for clemency are forthcoming.
I'll be back with your dinner.
Oh boy, now I'm worried.
You need to eat more. You're such a wisp of a thing. It will fortify you. Until then.
Your nurse turns. You think that she will depart, taking her cigarette with her and its noxious fumes, but once more she confounds you. She lets her cigarette, now burned down to a stump, fall from her long, elegant fingers. Then she crushes it beneath her heel, slowly and methodically, as one might stamp a spider to death. When she draws her foot away, the cigarette is a sad and crumpled husk of its former self. Its back bent, ash scattered across the warped and wooden floorboards. At least it has stopped smoking, but the smell remains. Your nurse looks at the disfigured remains of her cigarette arcly, her expression unfeeling. So do you. There is a pause. And then the nurse finally walks away. Wow, those doors are also creaky as heck. The soles of her boots strike against the aged floor, which creaks pitifully in response. You don't need to... She closes the door. That's gently speaking, very gently. But that closing door was not gentle at all. With no small amount of force. Okay. So it slumps, the foundation of the old creaking sanatorium seeming to groan from it. In your nurse's absence, you know not what to do. Not immediately, at least. Sleep, I guess. What did I do when I had my appendix removed? I was in the hospital for like 5 days total, I think. At the time. I would sleep. I would read stuff. And I would circle around the corridor for hours. And that's it. Anyway. And by circle around corridors, I mean it. The nurses were like, dude, this guy must have made like some kind of record of walking around after appendix removal and so on. Yeah. But it had to be done. I mean, dude. Being stuck in a bed, ridiculous. And not needed at the time at all. And also, the second part of it, I did not necessarily want to be in the room as well, because I was stuck with 3 or 4, like literally children. So I was 17, and I was stuck with like 7-8-year-olds that also had the appendix removal, right? And I was like, Jesus, I don't want to be here. So I walked and walked and walked on the corridor. Anyway, you sit in your bed for a few moments, almost marveling at how thin and lumpy the mattress is. Obviously, this girl cannot walk, so I guess it's sleeping for her. You glance at your legs, obscured by thin and faintly dirty sheets. You cannot see your legs, but you can see the sheets are distended on your right side, a shallow hillock which suggests your leg has been constrained in some sort of cast. You're momentarily tempted to peel the sheets back and examine your legs so as to verify everything your nurse told you. But your fingers freeze midair, splayed like the legs of a spider. Do you really want to see what sort of state your lower body is in? You must have injured your leg quite severely if your parents saw it too fit to send you away to this strange sanatorium. You're unsure whether you want to confront the truth right now. And I would, to be honest. And in any event, your leg scarcely hurts at all. It is your head instead which is pounding. And the lingering scent of nicotine hardly helps. Why, you wonder, did the nurse have to stab her cigarette out on your floor? That can't be hygienic. You're certain she must have violated some sort of rule. Perhaps you can tell the doctor about it later. Provided there are any doctors present to see you. So far you've only seen your nurse. Or maybe you don't remember seeing the doctor. Still, makes you curious why she doesn't remember. But you have only been at the sanatorium for 1 day. Probably. There must be other members of staff you can talk to. Other nurses and other doctors. Maybe your nurse's eccentric overseer, this Dr. Godwin, We'll even pay a visit to ensure that things are ticking over and the patients are all being well treated. Yeah, we have not met Godwin still. And I guess she is mentioned in every story so far. Or poorly treated, as the case may be, given the mission statement of this place seems to put discomfort on a pedestal. Still, you cannot imagine if a strange establishment like this would turn a blind eye to smoking in a patient's room. You will tell a doctor about this tomorrow, and perhaps a new nurse will be assigned to take care of you. Nope. Yes, you think with a small side that is what you will do. You will see to it tomorrow. It is still early. The sky outside your filthy bedroom window is a weak one blue, but feel awfully tired. You do not think much of your nurse. In fact, you rather dislike her. But something she said did stay with you. She told you to rest. She said that you wouldn't recover without it, and she might have had a point. You must lie back and allow your body a chance to slowly recover. It is with this thought that you lie down. The covers cool against your skin. Your hair split against your yellowed, tarnished pillow. Huh. Your eyes fall shut, the scent of nicotine hanging in the air like incense. But before sleep claims you, a sudden thought occurs to you. Your nurse might have been holding a cigarette, but she never did take a drag from it. She kept her surgical mask on the whole time and never tried to remove it. Oh yeah. Alright, so this is basically to create discomfort for you. Why is that? You wonder if there is some sort of significance to this peculiar detail, but you haven't the wherewithal to wonder for too much longer. Sleep slowly steals up on you, even more potent than the smell of cigarette smoke. And with a soft sigh you succumb. I could totally divide this into episodes. But no, I told myself, let's do a video per story. Actually have a gigantic headache as well, to be honest. You wake early the following morning to the twittering of so many starlings on the boughs of the trees beyond your bedroom window. Not door, window. You are unsure for how long you slept. You cannot see any clocks in your room, but you feel more well rested than you did the day prior, decidedly more alert. The itch in your head has subsided somewhat, and you feel sharper for it. The unpleasant smell of rot still remains, of course, coupled with the lingering fog of your nurse's cigarette smoke, but you can bear with it well enough. Huh. I would imagine the smell from the cigarette would disappear by now. Unless, while you slept, she appeared again with it, and so on. You might be a lady, for you do not feel much like one, but you are not a little girl. You are stronger than people give you credit for, and you have always been strong, willed, obstinate even. Why, your parents were always telling you not to ride Apollo. You remember that? That is the name of your beloved horse. As often as you did through the grounds, but you did not listen. Nobody has ever been able to tell you what to do. You have always been a law unto yourself. Your hair loose and streaming around your shoulders, your shoes forever muddy from your forays into the forest. I mean, in a way it's a good thing. Your mother would toot when you tramped into the house, traipsing dirt behind you, and she would ask you what in the world you had been doing, gallivanting off like Lady Godiva. I don't know who that is. Is it a real person? Let me check. Let me check. Lady Godiva. It is? England 1067. Date of death. English. Okay, died between 1066 and 86. His All English Godgifu was a late Anglo-Saxon noblewoman who is relatively well documented as the wife of Leofric, Earl of Mercia, no clue who that is, and a patron of various churches and monasteries. She's mainly remembered for a legend dating back to at least the 13th century, in which she rode naked, covered only by her long hair, through the streets of Coventry to gain a remission of the oppressive taxation that her husband Leofric imposed on his tenants. Damn. The name Peeping Tom for a voyeur originates from later versions of this legend, in which a man named Thomas watched her ride and was struck blind or dead. Huh? Interesting. So, in a way, not really, but in a way, sort of, that Godiva sort of anti-aired her husband. I would count this basically as that. Because, well, other men seen her, and so on. The legend says that she was riding completely without clothes, but there is dispute as to the historical authenticity of this notion. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Naturally would smile at your mother and tell her not to be silly, that you were nothing like her, the Lady Godiva. You at least did not go riding your beloved horse, stark naked. Okay. I mean, I just read that part. But, well, she did it in a for a good cause. Yes, you can remember all of this now. These details about your past life, once forgotten, taking form in your head like a jigsaw puzzle. The holes in your head have been filled, the nooks and crannies in your mind stuffed full of memories. But even then you still cannot remember your name. Now this is aggravating, what a bother! You can remember your mother, a silly, easy-started woman who reminded you of an ostrich, and your father, a red, rotund figure forever with a cigar in one hand, but I cannot remember you. Your memories are a blur. But you are sure you will recall who you are in due time. You need only wait for it. That is what your nurse told you last night, at least. But you have never been very good at waiting for things. You have always been far too impetuous. You used to drive your poor governess to distraction when you still had one. You made her cry one more than one occasion, and you are certain you put pins inside her shoes several times. Oof, no, why would you do that? You are worse than Godiva. My goodness, you really were naughty. Is it any wonder that your parents sent you to a sanatorium like this to recuperate? Doubtless they were hoping it would knock some humility into you. Perhaps this was meant to be a punishment then. Is that why your nurse insisted on smoking around you? She was not smoking for. You look at the memento your nurse left behind during her last visit. The cigarette bent back on the ground, and your nose wrinkles. You cannot stand smoking, you think it a dirty habit. It is. I agree with that part. I honestly don't understand why people smoke myself, but... Did your father give your nurse permission to do that? You will have to speak to a doctor about it. Such conduct is unacceptable. You're sure that you will see a doctor in due course. Or will you?
So, you're awake already, are you? Good. That saves me the trouble of needing to stir you.
But you are grossly disappointed by the woman who wishes you a good morning. Or does she? It is not a self-important pompous doctor. And neither is it the eccentric benefactress of this institution, the woman called Dr. Godwin. It is the same nurse who tended to you yesterday. For tended does not seem like quite the right word. Tended implies a degree of care that your nurse did not offer you. There was absolutely nothing tender about her. She was cold, instead, and hard, and it seems like a night's rest has done little to soften the sharp, jagged edges of your caretaker. If anything, the nurse seems even colder than she did yesterday. An immovable pillar of salt, whose skin looks alarmingly sallow in the early morning light. You took note of this the day prior, but your nurse's goldish appearance is even more pronounced than before. You cannot help but think, as you observe your nurse, that she is rather like the room in which you are convalescing. Your room is in an awful state, the floorboards warped, the wallpaper peeling, and your nurse watches the general malaise to a T. I wouldn't say so. I think she looks good. She looks so very derelict herself. You can easily imagine she was born within this room, that she will die within this room. Your nurse is unhealthily, eerily pale, just like a corpse. There are pale people out there. Her skin is a paper white. That's nice. Which makes the bags under her eyes stand out all the more than they otherwise would, deep and dark, like twin bruises. She looks so very disheveled, you almost feel sorry for her. Or at least you would, if her unnerving appearance did not send a shiver down your spine. You shrink away from the nurse when she enters your room, a rejection which she, of course, notices. She does not seem especially perturbed by your body language, however. She simply scoffs and says,
"So much for being a lady. That's not very polite."
Crisply, you tell the nurse that you have never cared overly much about manners, and you never wanted to be a lady either. You've always found your title uncomfortably restraining.
Well, I didn't much wish to be born into abject poverty,
the nurse says, archly.
Yet that was still my lot in life, and I had to make the most of it. We can't always have what we want.
Of course, you are well aware of that. You are not a child. You do not wish to be languishing in the sanatorium with a broken leg. Yet, here you are.
Yes, indeed. Here you are. For I hardly wish you would not use such a melodramatic language. You're hardly languishing. I'm taking good care of you, for heaven knows I don't get paid enough for it. Why, I don't get paid at all. I'm just solely out of the goodness of my own heart, if you can believe that.
Huh? What does that mean? She's right to be skeptical. You cannot believe it. Your nurse is so dry out and desiccated, you find it hard to imagine a creature like her has a heart at all. I believe that she has. Come on.
A creature like me, eh?
Your nurse echoes. There is a pause and then,
"Ah, well, suit yourself. I can tell that you are in a bad mood this morning."
That's funny coming from her.
But I'll not wash my hands off of you. It is still my job to help you, whether you want it or not. Now, let's see if I can get you out of the bed, since you claim you have been left to languish. That might bring some color back into your cheeks.
Your nurse lets the cigarette drop to the ground as she speaks, for she only just lit it. The cigarette is not yet burned down, but she stabs it out regardless, crushing it beneath the sole of her boot. You watch as she grinds the last sparks of light out her cigarette, and as she does, you frown. Isn't it a waste?
I suppose so,
your nurse says with a careless shrug.
Still, the world is full of it. We waste a lot of things. Time and money and even our own lives. The fate of a single cigarette is hardly worth worrying about.
True. Yeah, I know that. And it is not us for you were worrying. You simply thought, given her claims she had been born into abject poverty, she would care a little more about burning money.
Oh, what is this?
Your nurse asks, her voice wryly amused.
Don't tell me that you're worrying about me.
No, you reply stiffly. You won't tell her that. Why would you, when it would be a lie? You are simply making an observation.
Huh, I see how it is.
Your nurse says coldly.
Well, let me make an observation in turn. You're being selfish, ungrateful little bitch, but that is fine. I'm accustomed to dealing with difficult patients. It is all part of the job. Now, come here.
Your nurse approaches, then hooks an arm around your shoulder. You shudder at her sudden, unexpected closeness and try to pull away, but you are unable to get very far. Your nurse holds on to you, clinging to you as intimately as your own shadow, as close and as cloying as a nightmare. She looks at you coolly, her tone reprimanding as she says,
Stop squirming, you stupid girl. I'm trying to help you. You do want to get back on your feet, don't you?
Well, of course you do, but you resent being called a stupid girl.
They couldn't give a damn. If you act stupid, I'll call you stupid. It is what you deserve.
No, you want to tell your nurse, the stupid part isn't what really makes you uncomfortable, for you suppose it is mildly irritating. It is being called a girl which really chaffs at you. Why? You cannot explain why exactly, but the word does not sit right with you. It makes you feel smaller than you are, and insignificant, for you feel plenty small and insignificant as it is, with your nurse trying to help you stand. Why would you think that? Maybe that's the real reason you are in this sanatorium. Dude, I don't know. Today is some weird day, like I have constant attacks of yawns. After some finagling, she is finally able to manage, but you are unsure whether this operation has been wholly successful. For your left leg fares well enough, a sudden spike of pain soon pierces your right. Your toes curl and you hiss from the sharp, unexpected agony of it. Your teeth clack together, your whole body trembling while sweat begins to bed up on your brow. For all you complained of languishing in bed, you would far rather languish than endure the agony of trying to stand on a leg which has been badly broken. It hurts a lot, so much so the word hurt seems almost inappropriate. The word is not big enough, there are not enough syllables, it cannot hope to communicate even a tenth of your current suffering. I have to believe you. I wouldn't know about the broken leg, arm, or broken bones at all. But your nurse does not let you slump back on the bed. Instead, she holds you steady, whispering words of affirmation in your ear, her voice dry and rustling, just like autumn leaves.
Good, good. You really are making a wonderful progress. Your leg was in such an awful state when you first came here. I had initially expected that it would take far longer for you to be able to support yourself. One does not like to dwell too much on the macabre.
But it's funny given your nurse is, well, a nurse.
But your leg was positively mangled when you arrived?
Mangled?
Yes, indeed. You broke it so badly at such an angle that your bone was perforating your flesh. Oh, that must have been awful.
The open broken bone is the worst possible outcome, isn't it? I imagine it's so much easier for like some sort of infection as well at the same time. Anyway,
I thought that you would need to stay in bed for at least 2 weeks in order to give your leg a chance to heal.
That's interesting. Perhaps it is for the best that you didn't let your morbid curiosity get the better of you yesterday, and you didn't try to examine your leg as it lay swaddled beneath your sheets. for it seems unlikely that you would have been able to see the white bone perforating your skin. It is in a cast after all. I mean, given the fact that it used to be broken, the nurse over here put it back together, you would not be able to see any of that. I mean, come on, the bone would be put back to like regrow itself, and your skin would be sewed together, right? So like, not like you would... That does raise a question, however. If your nurse thought it would take 2 weeks for your injured leg to heal, why did she suggest that you try to stand up on it today? Have you forgotten the rules of this place? It almost seems to run contrary to the recovery, unless she was hoping to make things even worse.
Of course I wasn't. I just wanted to see whether you could bear your weight up on it. You have been in the sanatorium for several days now.
Several days? That's strange. You recall waking on yesterday, unless you have been here for longer than that.
Well done.
Your nurse remarks dryly.
Yes, you are correct in your assumption. You've been here for much longer than you think, but you were unconscious from the pain. That and the medication I've been administering you.
Makes sense.
You only woke up yesterday.
Yesterday, That makes sense, you suppose. But you have been here for much longer than you think. That raises yet another question. How long have you been here?
Long enough for you to be able to stand, obviously. For I doubt you would be able to stand unaided. You'll probably need to lean on me for the time being. I'm sure that must frustrate you, given how stubborn you are.
She knows you well, perhaps too well. When did she have an opportunity to glean so much information about you?
But try not to pay too much heed. As your nurse, it is my job to support you. You may lean on me as much as you would like. For that being said, my shoulder is beginning to feel somewhat numb. Perhaps I ought to set you back down, or else I might end up in a hospital bed next.
Your nurse's voice is cool, but you sense something pointed in her tone. Is she teasing you? You bristle against the nurse's insinuations. How could her shoulder be going numb already? You didn't wave that much, but you do think begrudgingly that she may have a point. Your broken leg is throbbing uncomfortably. You can stand, but not without spikes of pain going through the right side of your body, shooting up from your soul like lightning. You wonder whether this is how the poor, unfortunate mermaid felt in that fairy tale. Was she not condemned to a cruel fate of feeling every single footstep on the land like a knife driven into her unprotected soul? That's absolutely terrible. Can't say I know exactly that feeling, but I know something similar. It happens to me when I absolutely don't get enough sleep, or when I actually can't fall asleep for longer periods of time. Like, I can be lying basically, and I feel in my feet like sort of kind of stabs. I don't know, man. It's not like a knife stabs or anything, but like someone stabbed you with a pin, basically, I would say. It feels like that sometimes. Have no idea why that's like that. Again, maybe because of lack of sleep on me. Anyway, you feel somewhat similar, so much so it is almost enough to make you wonder whether you have always been a human yourself. You feel so clumsy on your feet, even with the nurse there to steady you. It does not seem too far-fetched to imagine you might once have been a mermaid. Right. You can't remember whether you can swim or not, but you do have memories of floating in the large lake in your parents' garden, much to your mother's chagrin, of course. Perhaps you can swim then. You might get along better in the water than you do on dry land. Your every footstep agony Sweat bedding like bullets on your bra. Also, I don't know that legend story she mentioned. Never heard of it. You try to breathe and you almost regret it. You can still smell the fog of cigarette smoke, faint but undoubtedly present. The smoke unfurls inside your nostrils. It curls within your stomach, just like spoiled milk, and you start to sputter. Huh. Your eyes squeeze shut, tears bedding the concern of your eyes, unbidden as coughs and sputters wrench their way out of you. Your nurse listens to you, one eyebrow raised, and says,
Oh dear.
for she doesn't sound all that sympathetic. She clicks her tongue and says,
Let's see to that. I think you've had quite enough excitement for one day.
part of you wants to argue with the nurse, but you don't have the energy for that. You know, Fo, you wish you didn't, that she's right. Why bother being difficult? You let your nurse lie you back on your bed, which is narrow as a coffin. The sheets thin and uncomfortably stained. Your nurse tucks you in and then says,
That was plenty of progress for one day. We can resume tomorrow. You seem quite hard-headed, and girls like you are always the best to get better. I have faith in you. Or perhaps I should say, I have faith in that nasty self-serving personality of yours.
nasty and self-serving, huh? But doesn't sound like the sort of thing a nurse should say. It isn't very professional. You tell your nurse as much. You might feel wary, but with just enough wherewithal to try and argue against her diagnosis, and she smiles in response. Or at least you think she does. It is hard to tell. She's still wearing that surgical mask. Above that obstructive strip of fabric, however, you think you see your nurse's red eyes soften, albeit slightly.
It was meant to be a compliment, assure you.
Was it now? It is a strange sort of compliment.
Why, of course. It takes one to know one. After all, I have always preferred nasty, self-serving girls over ones who simper. They are much more amusing to tease and torment.
Oh, good. Because that doesn't sound at all sinister. You roll your eyes, for you feel so tired. It is a wonder you have the energy for such a gesture of defiance. And your nurse titters. You still cannot see her face, but you are sure of what expression she is making now beneath her mask. She must be smiling.
If I'm not mistaken, if I'm not at least a little bit sinister, then I'm not doing my job properly. I'm a nurse, you know.
And are all nurses, you ask her, meant to be sinister?
To an extent, I'm sure. Anybody who has the capacity to stick a syringe in you ought to be a little bit unnerving, don't you think?
Maybe if you take the blood. I think like so many nurses don't know how to actually properly do that. At least that's a truth in Poland. Well, not even you can argue that. She does have a point.
I know I do. I wouldn't have said so otherwise. And have several other pointed objects I can stick inside you too.
Please don't.
At my own discretion. If you think my words are sharp, then you've not seen anything yet.
Uh-oh. Tired you tell your nurse that you did not disbelieve her, but you have no real desire to be stuck through with anything sharp. You just want to go to sleep.
Well, that is your prerogative. I'll see you later, my little patients. Do your best to get better, is what I should say.
Your nurse says, her eyes half lidded.
However, if you were to remain here a little while longer...
Yes, what if you were to remain?
Ah, never mind.
Your nurse replies after an ominous pause.
Good night.
You do not bother to tell your nurse that it is not night time, but it is still light outdoors. There is no point to it, Time seems to lose all meaning in the sanatorium. It passes by too slowly at times, and too quickly in the others, in fits and starts which leave you feeling nauseous. Or perhaps that is simply the ever-present fog of cigarette smoke. You do not think that it is nighttime. At least but you cannot say for sure. The window of your room is covered in grime. It is hard to tell where the sun sits in the sky, or whether the sun sits in the sky at all. Your room is cast in a near constant shade of grey, no matter the hour. A gloomy pall, which makes you feel rather like you are an ever-present attendant at a funeral. The only question is, whose funeral is this? Yours? Your nurse leaves with a customary creak of the floorboards, a toot of the door. You spy her lighting up another cigarette before she leaves, and the smoke trails along behind like a shroud. She departs with red and orange sparks. Just like a witch, the unpleasant smell of nicotine lingering in the air. Then there is nothing. Alright, I absolutely have no clue how from now on the video will go, which is problematic, but well, my mic arm is broken, first of all, and because of that I sit in a very uncomfortable position recording. Second of all, for some reason my mic also starts disconnecting, so yeah, hopefully it will not turn out terribly. But I feel so uncomfortable sitting the way I sit. Also, I did Streamlabs for OBS, and I do not know how well similar the settings right now are made. So we'll see how it goes after like an hour and so on. Yeah. Time passes in mysterious ways, and it seems to dilate, then contract in the weeks, if indeed it has been weeks which follow. Your time is unfixed, as is your place in the world. You wake sometimes at your nurse's behest, and sometimes on your own. She checks up on you, and she eases you from your bed, supports you, your living walking stick, as you shamble gracelessly around your room. Your room is very small. It might be even smaller than a prison cell, and you feel like a caged beast as you lumber around in a body which refuses to listen to you. There is something maddening about how incredibly clumsy you have become, especially when you once were able to scale the trees in your parents' garden like a monkey. In the past, you never would have had an issue walking a circuit around a cell like this. Now, however, every few shuffling footsteps you make are liable to make you feel breathless. Sweat begins to prickle on your brow, and your skin turns red from the effort of it all. An unpleasant bitty sort of redness, which fades to a porridge-like puss once the nurse lets you lie down again. For weeks, but has it been weeks? You struggle on like this, waging war against your own body. You do not leave your room, and neither, curiously enough, do you think of leaving. You are remembering more about your past every single day. Bits and pieces floating across your consciousness like driftwood. You remember your servants and how you used to goad them into playing games with you, especially the stable boy, who could not resist a chance to prove himself your superior when it came to scaling trees. You remember your former governess and how you drive her into fits by pretending supreme ignorance, cocking your head and saying, "What? What? When she asks you to recite your French verbs. Oh, I understand. Why would you learn French? Come on. You even remember Justine. Not that there is much to recollect about her. A girl about your age of a similar social standing. You visited her only a handful of times, but she still made an impression, if only because of how startlingly insipid she was. You remember vowing with a sort of fervency that you would never become a lady like that. Once so reliant upon your mates you can hardly dress yourself. Oh. You are recalling a lot. But despite all of your progress, you still cannot recall your own name. That's a problem. It is maddening. This ignorance about who you are which dogs you still. Yet you do not allow yourself to succumb to despair. You will get better, you have to. Then, you will return home. Walking on both your legs, and you will confront your parents. You will snap at them, even if it is unladylike, and you will ask them what they were thinking. Why did they send you to this sanatorium? Of all the places, surely they could have afforded something better? It is an affront, an insult, and your nurse will not stop lighting cigarettes in your presence, for she never smokes them. What in the world is wrong with her? You wonder this from time to time. More even when you wonder who you are, but you are unsure whether you want to know the answer. You have the uncomfortable feeling that there is something strange about your nurse. Some great secret. She's hiding from you, beneath her red eyes and her surgical mask. But you do not probe. You do not have the energy to ponder another's secrets. Not when your own name remains a mystery to you. The days pass by you regardless. As they always do. And though you are frustrated at your slow progress, at least you are making progress. True? Slow progress is better than no progress. That is true. That is something to be celebrated, at least. Your nurse seems to agree with this assessment. For one grey and gloomy morn, but all morns are grey and gloomy here, she says.
I think you are well and truly on the mend. Your leg has not been acting up, has it?
In truth, your leg has been paining you. Mostly at night, when you are trying to sleep. But you are now so desperate to recover that you hurry to nod your head. Now that is a mistake. You should be truthful about something like that. Especially considering your leg was broken. Quite literally.
That is what I thought. It seems your condition has stabilized somewhat after our strength training. So perhaps I will see fit to give you a reward.
What sort of reward?
I thought that we might go for a tear in the garden. How does that sound?
You stare at the nurse, your eyes wide and eager. Will she finally let you escape your dark, dreary bedroom? In before the garden is also like in shambles. You feel as though you've been consigned indoors for far too long. Like a sunflower shut up in the dark, you've begun to languish, to wither away into nothing at all. The promise of going outdoors, of feeling the sunlight on your skin, is a tantalizing one. But what if your nurse is simply toying with you? You are unsure if you can trust her, but...
Yes. The garden. Do you want to step outside?
Your nurse says.
Of course it will take more than a single step, but I will be with you. You will have to walk further than you have if you want to go outdoors. But it should be good training. It will aid your recovery quicker if you can spend more time on your feet. For of course, if you think it would be too much strain, you can always refuse.
Your nurse raises a brow as she speaks. You cannot see her lips. The lower half of her face is, as always, obscured, but you are certain she's smiling. No, smirking at you. You know your nurse is mocking you, and it is with this which prompts you into action. You force yourself up and out of your bed, for you almost stumble in the process, and to tell her of course you will be going to the garden. You are sick and tired of being shut up indoors. Do you not deserve at least a taste of freedom?
How feisty.
Your nurse says, one eyebrow still raised.
What you deserve has yet to be seen. But if you ask me, only good girls who work hard are worthy of rewards.
Such as going into the garden.
Yes, you understand. Now, are you coming?
Of course you are. That was the very question.
Very well then. Come along. And do take care when you walk through the hallway. The floor is rotten and there are a few holes. I would not want you to fall through the foundation of the building.
Damn. Holes? Surely that can be safe.
Did I ever say it was?
Your nurse replies, archly amused. Which is fair, you suppose. Your nurse might not have the best bedside manner, but she has yet to tell you any outrageous lies. Not any that you recognize, at least. Your nurse lets unsmoked cigarette fall to the ground, amidst the carcasses of its fallen brethren. Then she grinds it beneath her heel. She inclines her head and proffers you her arm, just as gallant might.
Shall we be off?
She does not need to ask you twice. You take your nurse's arm, for you feel somewhat abashed at having to rely on her so much, then let her lead you into the hallway. You stumble into an unfamiliar corridor you've never seen before. A space which is even more dismal, if that can be believed, than your bedroom. There is more peeling paper in the hallway, for it looks oddly blackened, signed by the wainscoting. The floor is made of warped wood, and true to your nurse's warning, there are holes in it. Yawning voids which have been beaten away as if by some almighty moor. The windows are stained black, with soot maybe. And one of the windows you pass has shattered completely, letting in the lukewarm breeze. Well, at least it isn't a cold day. This hallway is awfully dismal, yet the sky outside past the empty window pane looks blue enough and very bright. The sun is out, and you sigh as you pass the ruined window. The sunlight feels good on your skin, there is something soothing about it. When was the last time you felt the sun's light on your face? You cannot remember. It feels as though it has been a very, very long time indeed. You've been shut up in this sanatorium for too long. But by the same token, it feels like you've been here for hardly any time at all. Time is playing tricks on you again. It shifts, dilutes and undulates, just like water. It is impossible to take hold of. It is even more impossible to perceive. You cannot see what form time takes, how many days it has stolen from you. But you can feel your nurse's supportive arm about your shoulder, and this helps ground you. You lean against her heavily as you walk, taking care to avoid the gaping holes in the wooden floor. You step over them gingerly, and as you do, a sudden burst of pain knives through your right leg. You instantly wish you wouldn't. You don't want the nurse to pity you, and the nurse stills. She looks at you and then says,
Are you alright?
Naturally, you nod your head. You are fine.
Are you sure? I fear this might be too taxing on your body. Are you sure you can keep going?
You tell the nurse you will be fine. She doesn't need to worry. You want to go to the garden, and you are sure you can endure it. Nobody knows your own body better than you.
Really now? How strange. I thought that knowing your body was my job. But if you are sure...
Yes, you tell her forcefully, you are sure, you are fine. Didn't she herself say that you were nasty and self-serving, was it? Perhaps it was.
Yes, that's right. I did say that, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Well, you cannot stubborn to the list, you tell her, because you aren't one to give up. Not so easily. I'm also a stubborn person, to be fair. Maybe not stubborn enough to... Actually, never mind. I had... overstrained Achilles's. Like, both of them. I would still go running, even though I was told not to do that at all. Yeah. Anyway. Still, it's not a broken bone, but... You've already taken so many steps out of your room, you can't turn back now. Otherwise, what would be the point in all of this?
Yes, I see what you mean.
Your nurse says.
I would not wish to rob you of a job well done, so... Alright, let us keep going.
Relief floods you, clear and cool. The moment these words leave your nurse's mouth, you feel so thrilled you could very well kiss her. Not that you would, of course. Why not?
Do it. Do it, girl.
You are not that desperate. Or are you? That must be loud for you as well. That is what you tell yourself at least, yet you cannot suppress your gasp of joy when you finally reach your destination. There is a door inlaid into the wall, a door which has been thrown open which leads into a garden. The garden is as green and grassy as and you have dreamt, perhaps to an excessive degree. There is too much grass in this garden, so much so it just juts out at all the angles, all the way past your ankles. The grass is in dire need of trim, and the hedgerows are all overgrown. There is an old fountain in this garden, but it no longer runs. The stone basin of the fountain is filled with weeds, positively choked with them. There is a plinth in the middle of this fountain upon which a half-naked Grecian woman stands. Blue-white lichen sprouting between her sandaled toes. She holds a pot atop one shoulder, from which cool jets of water must once have poured. So, like a statue, basically. The statue is as dry as a bone now, however, and the Grecian lady is not faring well. Grecian? Wouldn't it be Greek? She's missing half her head. Oof. There is something dismal about this courtyard, something decidedly tragic. The garden is hemmed in on one side by the crumbling red brick walls of the sanatorium, and it is littered with detritus loose tiles fallen from the roof, and trees toppled in the thunderstorms, and what might very well be the missing half of the Grecian lady's head. Again, Greek. As far as gardens go, it is something of a disappointment, for you have the faint feeling that you recognize this place. Is Grecian even a word? Dude, I just touched the cable for the mic and I was sure it would disconnect. Okay, Grecian is also... Got it. Makes sense. Yeah, there's something familiar about the shape of the fountain, about the overgrown fig trees, about the cluster of what you assume were once roses which are now more thorn than flower. You're sure you have seen this garden before, not as an overrun tangle of stinging nettles and other miscellanea, which might trip you, but in its glory days, when the hedges were neat and the flowers well cared for. There's something familiar about it. A memory stirs within you, beneath the surface of your consciousness.
So, what do you think? It makes a nice change from your room, don't you think?
But then your nurse speaks and this memory fades, for you try to grasp it. It slithers from between your fingers, just like the scales of a slippery fish. You cannot hold on to it. It is lost to you, lost to the void. But your nurse is right about one thing. This garden, however dilapidated, does make a nice change from your room. There is something reassuring about it, especially when you feel the warmth of the sun's light brush your skin. You sigh from the pleasure of it, a pleasure so great it seems to overtake the pain in your right leg, and your nurse's red eyes soften.
Good. I thought you might like it. That is why I bought you... That is why I brought you here. I was unsure initially whether you would be able to make it all the way to the garden, even with my help.
Well, you countered that was very foolish of her. She must not know who you are. Does surely think that you would let a silly little broken leg keep you from doing what you want?
I suppose not. That is not the sort of girl you are. You've always been such a difficult patient.
Always?
but I believe I've told you once before that I happen to like difficult patients.
Yes, she had told you as much. Did she not say she liked difficult patients because she enjoyed breaking them down?
Indeed, it is one of my more unsavory habits.
Your nurse says her voice furtive, a little shifty. You latch onto this, you cannot help but be curious, and you ask her what other unsavory habits she has. Is lighting cigarettes she does not intend to smoke one of them?
That and making my patients cry. I can be awful, really, when the mood strikes me.
Your nurse says lightly.
For I'm in a good mood today.
And why is that?
Who knows? Perhaps it is the sun. Or perhaps I simply like seeing you smile.
Here you cough. You think that sounds supremely unlikely given all of her talk about how she likes tormenting others.
Yeah, I suppose. It must seem unlikely.
Your nurse says, her voice vague. To you.
To you, I would not expect you to understand. But you have always been special to me.
What? Always.
For as long as I've known you, at least.
Ever since you are admitted to the sanatorium, she means.
What else would I mean?
That is what you were asking.
Well, don't. There are some questions you would be better off not knowing the answer to. Now, you stay here. I'm going to fetch something for you.
What's something?
Nothing sinister. I only wish to reward you for your hard work. Now, hang tight. I won't be a minute.
You think that this is most likely a lie. You imagine your nurse will be gone for much longer than a minute, but you do not care. You have slowly become accustomed to your nurse's company, to the point where speaking to her seems almost natural. I mean, that's good. Probably, I think. You've been sleeping a lot lately, and you seem only to wake in your nurse's company. Sometimes it feels as though she's the only real thing in the world, that you will cease to exist without her. On occasions, when you hover in a mutable divide between sleep and wakefulness, you can almost bring yourself to believe that you are not real at all, that you are not flesh and blood. You're nothing more than a figment of your nurse's imagination, a dream which can only be witnessed when you are in her company. You wonder if you will blip out of existence the moment she departs, if you will fade after she sets you down in the grass, as if you were never there at all. But this is nothing more than an idle musing. Your nurse leaves you amongst the tall grass and the gorse, and you do not disappear. You remain as corporeal as ever, hard and firm, just like the Grecian lady missing half her head. So, you are not a hallucination after all, but of course you already knew that. If you were a hallucination, would you have the cognitive ability to wonder whether you were a hallucination in the first place? You are much too advanced to be a hallucination. You need to think harder! Think, Ezra! Oh, your name is... I don't think we knew the name, right? Ezra. Ezra? Is that your name? You cling to your name, to discharge your name, jealousy, as if it is a precious gem. You hold it close to your heart, letting its sharp edges lacerate you. Z is such a pointed letter, while you await your nurse's return. You sit there in the grass, surrounded by weeds, and as you do, you ponder. The nurse told you that this place is a sanatorium, and in the beginning you did not doubt her. She sounded so assured when she delivered these lines, you could not even begin to imagine she was lying. You did not see any patients as your nurse led you through the hallway. You did not see any doctors either. The doctors that you initially wished to complain to about medical malpractice. You haven't seen any other nurses. You haven't seen any staff at all. Even if this sanatorium is running on a skeleton crew, you would expect there to be a few servants at the very least. Gardeners to trim the grass in the courtyard, and a handyman to repair the broken windows in the hallway. Can this really be a real medical establishment given the state it is in? Why, the hallways was riddled with holes, and there in the roof. Overhead, you can see yet more holes. Tiles dislodged from the roof, which have shattered into pieces on the unforgiving ground below. Something isn't right here. Maybe there has never been anything right here. You are fast beginning to doubt that this is the real sanatorium, but if this is not a sanatorium, then who is your nurse? What relation is she to you, and what does she want from you? You are busy pondering this when your nurse returns, the lower half of her face still obscured by her mask. In one hand she holds a hamper, and there's a blanket slung over her arm. A soft checker thing, black and white like a giant chessboard. Your nurse arranges this blanket on the ground, amidst all of the tall grass and the stinging nettles. Your nurse sits on the blanket gracefully, her long legs unfurling beneath her. Then, through half-tilted eyes, she examines you amusedly.
Well, do you want a treat?
She says, her voice sensuous.
For being such a good girl.
You rail against this descriptor, which feels so ill-fitting, too small for you, and uncomfortably scratchy. You've half a mind to tell your nurse that you won't do anything she asks, not if she insists upon calling you a girl. But then your stomach rumbles, rather noticeably too, and the nurse titters.
Don't deny your body what it wants. Come and sit beside me. Come, come.
You hesitate for a few minutes, but ultimately obey. It feels as if you have no choice. You cannot say no to the nurse. There is something mesmerizing about her, something hypnotic. You can feel her luring you in, and like a moth, you find yourself drawn to the light she exudes. You take a seat upon a blanket, free from the tall grass and the stinging nettles, while she nods approvingly.
Very good. Now come.
The nurse reaches with one long, gloved arm into the wicker basket, then procures from it a bowl full of strawberries, red jewel-like things all sprinkled with sugar. Yeah, that's usually how it goes, technically. But without sugar, super good. You don't need sugar for them. She takes one step. Why did I take this? Where did I take the step from? She takes one of these precious gems between her thumb and forefinger and dips it in the little bowl of cream. All soft white peaks, just like clouds. Then she holds the strawberry out to you. The strawberry looks undoubtedly delicious. Its rounded surface positively seems to drop in the sunlight, but still, you eye it with some trepidation. Is it really safe to eat?
Why wouldn't it be safe? I promise it's not poisonous. Why would I wish to harm you when you are my own patient?
I mean, makes sense.
You're not sure
About that, you cannot say, but you also don't know why she insists upon lighting her cigarettes in your company. Right.
Oh, Dad.
Your nurse says with a careless shake of her gloved hand.
Oh, don't be so precious. It isn't like you. Anyway, a bit of smoke never hurt anybody.
Yes, it did.
Now come here, come.
You want to argue the nurse's careless comment. You rather think that smoke can be dangerous, especially if ingested in large quantities, but your stomach gives the nurse a pathetic little gurgle. You don't necessarily trust your nurse. You fear she's being a bit too nice to you, but you are hungry. You didn't have any breakfast this morning, and you would like to eat something substantial. Not that the strawberries have much substance to them, you suppose. Still, they should be better than nothing. You do entertain unsettling notions of the strawberries being laced with cyanide, of your stomach tying itself into knots upon your swallowing while your body begins to convulse. But to your surprise, the strawberry pinched between the nurse's gaunt fingers tastes ripe, full and sweet. The peaks of white cream which dabbed it only serve to enhance the flavor, as does the sugar sprinkled atop it. It might not be so bad after all.
See?
Your nurse says, sounding triumphant once you swallow.
What did I tell you? There's nothing wrong with these strawberries. Now come on, dear. Eat up. There are plenty more where they came from. And I even have a bit of a quiche and some elderflower wine. I think it should go down rather nicely after you've been consuming all of this hospital food. Your recovery has been going so well, you deserve to celebrate it. You've worked hard for this, so savor it. It might very well prove to be one of your last meals here in this institution before you are allowed to leave.
A last meal, huh? That sounds awfully ominous. I mean, she said before you leave, so... Does that make this something of a last supper, then?
No! No, it does not. Yes, I suppose. Now come and eat.
You oblige, now that you know the strawberry wasn't drizzled with something suspect. Your nurse takes another jewel-like strawberry between her fingers, blood red against her white gloves, and holds it aloft.
Here you go. Say ah.
You oblige, feeling a touch silly as you do so. A touch self-conscious. The faintest of blushes spreads across your cheeks as you take the strawberry into your mouth. You feel the nurse's gloved fingers brush against your lips and you shudder from it. There is something almost uncomfortably intimate about her touch. You are unsure why exactly, but sends a small thrill down your spine. A sudden spike of sensation which should not be there. You have no fond feelings towards your nurse. Or so you think. In fact, you find her rather disagreeable, but it feels hard to hate her when she's being like this. It feels almost as if her marble hardness during your earlier checkups was all an act, as for she was presenting herself as an aloof, stoic figure to hide her true feelings. What are her feelings, however? That truly care for you? It is hard to tell. Her surgical mask obscures so much of her face. You cannot see what her lips are doing, whether they are working upwards into a smile or else if they are pursed together in distaste. But you get a feeling, as your nurse continues to indulge you, that she is enjoying the quiet, intimate moment even more than you are. You continue to eat, the breeze stirring your hair, the hem of your nightgown until the nurse stops. She sets the hamper aside and, smiling with her eyes, she says,
That should be the last of the food. The strawberries and the quiche. You ate quite heartily, too, not leaving a single crumb. I'm very proud of you. You become so obedient. I worried you might spit it all back out just to spite me, yet you've been just as well behaved as any doll.
Uh-oh. I don't know why this line kind of gave me a very bad feeling. Like a very bad prediction of sorts. Maybe I'm, like, overthinking. But at the same time, what if I'm not? What if I'm not?
Now, did you enjoy that treat, dear one?
You frown. You're unsure about the sudden use of an epithet, but you cannot bring yourself to wholly hate it. Something within you flutters, like the wings of a butterfly. Blushed by your nurse's sweet sentiments, you glance to one side. You feel a flush spread across your cheeks, for you wish it would not. There is something embarrassing about it, something almost infantilizing. You feel demeaned by your own body, irate that it refuses to listen to you. But even that, you cannot deny that you appreciate your nurse's company. You nod your head, which is bowed beneath the sunlight, and you tell her how you feel.
Good, I thought you might say that,
says your nurse, her voice low and smooth like velvet.
Now you must be feeling weary after all of that excitement. Would you like to rest your head?
Rest it where, you ask, with an innocent blink?
Where do you think?
Says your nurse, indicating her lap with her palm.
It is open for you if you so desire.
You lucky little girl. You eye the nurse's lap with some trepidation, as if eyeing a pit full of venomous snakes.
What?
Your nurse is very skinny, her body almost eerily devoid of excess fat. She's tall alongside it and alarmingly bony, so she looks like a skeleton.
No, she does not!
I said it over and over. You cannot imagine that her lap would make for all that comfortable of a pillow. The idea isn't very appealing. But your nurse is right. You do feel tired after all of that walking and you would like to lie down. Your nurse's lap does not seem like the most comfortable pillow, but it is preferable to lying your head down than nettles at least. You deter for a few moments, seized by the indecisiveness. And your nurse, seeing this, smiles.
Well, you might as well make the most of my services. As a nurse, it is my job to treat you. You are my patients, so you ought to make use of me. That is what I am here for.
I highly doubt the lap pillow is something a nurse is meant to be doing. But whatever. It is a pleasant piece of sophistry, but it rings hollow when you consider the words that nurse spoke to you already. Did she not tell you when you woke that your sickness stripped away your humanity? She claimed that, as you were not human, you had no right to... well, ask for any rights. Did she not say that your sickness maimed you, made you less than... Why then does she care so much about your comfort?
Of course I care.
Your nurse says, her red eyes unblinking.
It is true that you are in no fit state to be reintegrated into polite society, not with your leg mangled as it is, but that does not mean I do not want you to integrate into society again. In fact, it is the opposite. I want only the best for you. I want to please you, so you might as well take this moment to rest while you can. Your treatment shall be even more intense in the future. You have led a charmed life in this sanatorium, but you will eventually recover. Then, you'll have to leave. You'll face the outside world without me. So, until that fateful moment, you might as well enjoy my company while you can.
You look at your nurse mutely, bemused. Your nurse has always sounded cold in your pure dealings, and clearly by now you sense a peculiar emotion throbbing behind her words, something like... sorrow, maybe? Will she be sorry to see you go?
In a sense, I suppose. I am always sad when any of my patients recover.
What?
A nurse becomes redundant, you know, when she has nobody to heal. I derive my worth from the sick people who require my aid. Once you recover, I will no longer have a purpose. I will be shunted into the shadows again, like a corkscrew, once the last bottle of champagne has been opened. We nurses exist for one purpose, and one purpose alone. We exist to make the sick healthy. You give me my purpose. In that sense, I suppose you could say that you complete me. In a sense, I rely upon you.
Your nurse looks at you, her eyes hooded, cold and clever, like a falcon's. You cannot see your nurse's mouth, but you imagine she's smiling as she says,
But you are relying upon me right now? To help you get better? We are in a mutually beneficial relationship. That's of give and take.
true, in a way.
So you might as well take from me while you can. I do not mind giving. That is the role I must play. A role.
A role, you say, like a corkscrew?
Yes, exactly like a corkscrew. I've heard it said that I'm exceptionally sharp and pointy.
Well, you can't argue that. You were thinking much the same thing. You laugh lightly at this, some of the tension between you dissipating, when you decide to capitulate. Why not rest your head up in your nurse's lap? What do you have to lose? You will recover soon enough, and then you needn't spend any more time in this sanatorium with this strange woman who smells of smoke. You will finally be able to leave, while she will be... You blink as you lie back, setting your head up on her lap, slotting in there like a piece of jigsaw. You look up at her, then ask her the fateful question. Will she be lonely when you recover, and you leave?
Lonely?
Your nurse asks, her head tilted. There is a pause and then...
Perhaps I shall.
Really? But what of the other patients in the sanatorium? How can she be lonely when there will always be an influx of new people to treat? But there is probably nobody there, huh? You wonder whether nurse will admit to her deception, whether she will confirm this place never was a sanatorium, and she never was a nurse, and there were never any other patients. But nurse does not do this. Not content to drop her subterfuge, not even until the last. Your nurse says,
Yes, you are right. There are always new patients to treat. Of course. Of course. But I remember every single patient I have had the privilege of treating. I recall all of our moments together, no matter how fleeting. In fact, one might argue it is the fleeting nature of these moments which makes them more precious. Nothing can last forever, and yet...
Your nurse sighs, while her mask muffles most of this exhalation, then says,
Sometimes when I look at you, I do find myself wishing...
She never does finish the statement, however, or perhaps you simply do not remain awake long enough to hear it. That's odd. I want to hear it. Your consciousness is already beginning to drift away. So I guess that lap pillow is pretty comfortable in the end, huh? You thought you would never be able to sleep resting on your nurse's lap, which is just as bony as you feared. Okay. Your nurse's knees seem to just out beneath her white skirt. They dig into your side just like a dentist drill, so you wins. It is not exactly pleasant, but it is not unpleasant either. It cannot be unpleasant, for your consciousness is already beginning to fade. You drift off, your head resting on your nurse's lap as if in a boat, buoyed to and fro by the waves. Your consciousness deserts you, guttering out like the dying flame of a candle, like a stabbed-out cigarette. You feel yourself drifting, buoyed on wings of silver sleep. But before you surrender yourself to oblivion, you are sure you hear your nurse mumble,
Ha, you silly thing. What in the world am I going to do with you?
This question, of course, is one that is doomed to remain unanswered, for the time being at least. You sleep and you sleep, and you sleep. Oh. Oh boy, we are at this point of the story. Here we go again. Where is the answer going to get us, I wonder? But you eventually wake up, of course. It is inevitable that you would, for nobody can sleep forever. However much you might wish for it, however much you might will it. Should I be worried again? Your eyelids flutter open inevitably, inexorably. You expect at them waking that you will find yourself in the scrubby garden one more, still lying on your nurse's lap. Oh, that would be nice, right? But to your surprise, you are no longer outdoors. You cannot feel the breeze upon your cheeks, nor through your hair. When you blink, you first find yourself looking at shadows. Darkness presses down upon you, a darkness so thick and absolute it might very well be sludge, or sediment scrubbed from the bottom of the ocean. But there is light enough by which to see, which spills in through your window from the moon's ghostly glow. You are back in your room, and it is late at night. You know, not much time has passed since you were in the garden with your nurse. Whether it has been hours, or days, or even weeks, but time has changed, as have you. You felt light when you were outdoors, basking beneath the sun's rays like a nymph. The worst of your sickness slowed off you, and, fortified by the strawberries and cream your nurse fed you, you felt as if your inevitable recovery was well and truly in your grasp. Now, however, you feel tired. Bone tired, in fact, all the way down to your marrow. You're lying, once more, on your harsh, iron-backed bed. The bed is too small, like a coffin, and it constrains you. The darkness which surrounds you is oppressive. Okay.
Thank goodness. You're asleep for hours. I was worried I had given you a little too much valerian. You slept so deeply like the dead, I thought you really might have passed on. You didn't half give me a fright.
And the presence which stands by your bedside, staring down to you from the shadows, is even more so. Your nurse is there as she always is, as she always seemed to be during your waking hours, be it daytime or dark. Give me a second. Valerian. What's that exactly? No, I will not read the garbage that is written by the Google trash eye. Valerian is a perennial flowering plant native to Europe and Asia. It produces a catnip-like response in cats. Okay. Valerian is a common traditional medicine used for treating insomnia. Oh. Okay. I mean, in a way that is something maybe I could use because I do have trouble sleeping at night. But then again, maybe if I didn't have so much electronics in my bedroom, I would sleep better. But I don't have the place to put that electronics. Anyway. She's not holding a tray in one hand, however, as she often does when she visits you at night. Instead, she's clutching. What is she clutching? It is hard to see what she holds in her slender, bony fingers, for it is obscured in shadows. In her other hand, however, you can see that she's holding a cigarette. That is no surprise, of course, not by this point. Her nurse is always holding a cigarette, for whether she smokes them is another matter. Why, you ask your nurse tiredly? Does she always light cigarettes she does not mean to smoke? Who is she trying to impress?
I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm not a child desperate for approval. I'm a grown woman. Thank you very much.
I mean... she's probably saying the truth here, right? I would assume so. Then she lights cigarettes solely for the thrill of watching something burn.
Ha! That is not a bad assessment. Perhaps you ought to be the nurse, not I. You're well suited for it. Quit it. That is one of the reasons why I like you so much.
Why, thank you, tell your nurse. You are very flattered, but what is the meaning of this? What did she mean by a Valerian?
Everything in due course. I'll tell you everything. I always do in the end. But first, I ought to offer you a few words of congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes, indeed. You've almost made a full recovery as you turn in the garden ought to indicate. Soon, you'll be able to walk even greater distances unaided, and eventually, you will no longer need me. My services will be...
Redundant, you interrupt, like the corkscrew spoke of, the one stashed in the back of a drawer. There's a brief pause. Your nurse looks you over, her eyes narrowed, mouth inscrutable, of course, behind her mask, and then...
So you were listening to me?
Of course you were listening. Who else did you have in this awful place to listen to? She was your only companion.
Yes.
Your nurse says, with an acknowledging nod of her head.
I suppose that's true. That's how I've always wanted it to be, but doesn't seem to matter what I do to you or how I try to isolate you. Like a phoenix, you continue to rise from the fire. You simply cannot live well enough alone. You're always trying to escape from me.
Oh boy.
But we have been through this before. Even if you do not remember, I cannot let you leave. I need you far too much.
Your nurse approaches you as she speaks slowly, almost low, languidly. You see the fingers her left hand flex, the hand which is not holding her smoldering cigarette, and it is only then that you realize. In her other hand, no longer obscured by shadows, not fully at least, your nurse is holding a hammer! You gasp, then ask her, past your tongue, which seems to have doubled in size, what in the world she means to do with that hammer? What is she talking about?
I thought you would. You might ask me that. You always do, for I have explained it to you so many times already. I've told you who I am and what my motives are, more times than I care to count. At this point I had hoped that you would remember. But you can be awfully forgetful about these things. My dear, you remember my silly metaphor about the corkscrew, but you can't retain any information of value. It all slides right off your head, like water to a sieve.
What is she talking about, right? It's like this scenario kind of repeats.
I wonder if that is the Valerian's work too. That, or perhaps it is the pain? I imagine it must hurt a lot, having your legs broken so many times.
Oh boy.
Now would be the 4th, I think. The 5th? I cannot remember. Even I have lost count.
Here your nurse pauses. She looks at you askance and then says,
Maybe I'm a hypocrite for scolding you. It seems like I've begun to forget things too.
"What?" You look at the nurse mutely, your heart beginning to drop with fear, your saliva thick and viscous as it catches in your throat. What does she mean?
What I said. We've done this song and dance many times before. At this point it is becoming almost cliché. Part of me wonders if I break your bones often enough, whether you will remember me, but the truth never seems to stick. Perhaps I'm not breaking you down for roughly enough. Perhaps I need to grind your bones down to a fine powder, like broken glass, so you will never be able to recover from my love for you. I'll carve my affection onto your body for now until eternity. My love is more strong enough to mutilate a person, especially a helpless young girl like you.
You chafe once more at being called a girl, and a helpless girl besides, but you know better than to contradict your nurse. You are wary of the hammer in her hands, and you fear what pain she might inflict with it. What pain she has inflicted already. You swallow. Your saliva tastes only unpleasantly thick in your mouth as your nurse says,
But if I were to ruin your lovely legs that excessively, I fear you would never recover. Then you would never be able to love me. I cannot be too hard with you. You are a lady, after all, and I'm no brute. I do not want to kill you. I just want to claim you. And I'll do that as many times as it takes, until you no longer try to leave me.
"What?" Once more you uttered the single syllable, struck down from the absurdity of it all. What is your nurse talking about? What nonsense is this? You have no idea what she is talking about, but you know it is not safe to stay here with her. Not in this small enclosed room with its walls which stink of cigarette smoke. You try to shift away from her, but your body large and lumbering, but it is all in vain. Your nurse preempted your attempted escape, and she has already taken pains to prevent it. While you slept in a drug-induced stupor, your nurse was hard at work. She tied your arms to the metal headboard of your bed. Tie them tightly, with a length of rope tight enough to bite your flesh once you attempt to squirm away. You cannot free yourself from your bindings. Secured as you are, like a pitiful insect pinned upon a board, you can only stare at her stricken. You tremble, eyes wide with fright, as you examine the glinting hammer in your nurse's hand. What is to become of you now, when you cannot hope to pull away from her? What does she mean to do?
I already told you.
Your nurse answers smoothly, coming to a pause beside you. Once more she lets her cigarette fall to the floor. Once more she stamps it out beneath the heel of her boot, sentencing it to a quick, swift death. Then she presses the cold steel head of the hammer against your burning flesh against your neck. She tips your chin upwards with the curved end of the hammer, pressing it down against your throat and says,
I'm not doing anything I haven't done before. I'll always be your nurse, and you will always be my patient. You cannot leave the sanatorium, because I shall not let you. You cannot stop being my patient if you always have a broken bone or two which needs medical attention. If you remain sick, then I will continue to have a purpose. I can guarantee that purpose, then you need never leave me. We could always be together.
You look up at your nurse with frightened animal eyes, your pulse humming beneath your soft, supple flesh. You are chilled from tip to toe with fear. It is a cold emotion, colder even than a hammer pressed beneath your chin, which chills your stomach, your intestines, even your bladder. But despite your fear, you are able to tell her you do not think this is the best way to win your affection. Why can she not be with you outside of the sanatorium? It is unlikely you would have any interest in her now, romantic or otherwise, after she has tied you to your bed and threatened to burst your bones in a fine white powder, but
I cannot be with you outside of the sanatorium. I tried that once before, but it didn't work. It isn't possible.
Not possible? What does she mean?
I mean what I meant the last time we had this conversation. and the time before, and the time before.
Your nurse says, her voice feverish.
My feeling have never once wavered, not since the day I met you. I love you, Elizabeth. I've loved you ever since I laid eyes on you, but I always knew my love could never be.
Ugh, so your name is Elizabeth, is it? So what was that about Ezra then? Ezra was just a fragment. Then. Is Ezra a fragment or Elizabeth? I somehow don't think so, but okay. Then, or maybe it was the name you preferred. I mean, don't ask me. I wouldn't know. Unfortunately, I do not have the answer to that. The name your nurse has given you does not quite sound right. It doesn't suit you. But you can recall people dressing with this name. Your parents and your scores of cousins and insipid little Justine. It is something to cling onto. Even though you wish to reject it, something you can use to connect your present to your past. But you still know little of the nurse who looms over you, silver hammer in hand. You might remember who you are, but who is she?
You were a lady like I told you so many times. I, meanwhile, was nothing more than a commoner. A peasant girl from the village, who happened to see you riding your horse through the fields.
What?
I knew, the moment I first locked eyes upon you, that I wanted to be with you. You were the one light which illuminated my dreary world, the one person who made my dull grey days worth living. But for I went out of my way to match my schedule to yours. For I was always there, waiting to watch you riding your horse. You never granted me so much as a cramp of that same courtesy.
Aww.
You never once looked at me. You never cared about me. I knew then that you were out of my reach. I knew that you would never love me, not the way I loved you. How could you love me, when you didn't even know that I existed? You were a lady and I was a commoner, so far beyond your attention that nothing I could have done or said would have elicited any response from you. I was ready to give up, but my love for you was so intense that I couldn't. To betray my love for you, betraying myself, my very essence.
Okay. We are getting into very crazy territory, I guess. Which is not surprising.
I would sooner die than forget you. To cast aside the feelings which had worn me through my many cold, lonely nights.
Right, let's maybe not get into the details of that.
So,
your nurse continues, her voice soft but erratic, her fingers twitching around the handle of her hammer.
I did something drastic. I had to catch your attention. I crept into your garden late at night, when you and your parents and all of their servants were abed, and then I set your fine fancy home on fire. Fire?
You stare at your nurse, your eyes wide, expression stricken. This tale is so convoluted it sounds like something for a penny dreadful. It is hard to square this sensationalism with your own life, which was always so mundane, monotonous, even. You went riding on your horse, and you went swimming in the lake, and you made your mother swoon when you tracked dirty footprints indoors.
What is wrong with you, Eliza?
Your mother would scold you. You were Eliza to your long-suffering parents, Miss Elizabeth to the servants, and Ezra only ever inside your head. Why do you always do this? I've told you enough times.
We're so selfish, Eliza. Why do you never think of any for anybody else?
Yes. You're sure your mother called you that. She said you were selfish, and maybe you really were. You ignored your nurse, for she was not always a nurse. Once she was an ordinary girl from the countryside. Sweet, perhaps an unassuming as she yearned for you from afar. Like Eve, she found herself drawn to the forbidden fruit, until enticed by the whispers of the snake in the tall grass, she chose to commit an awful crime. She set your house on fire! It sounds melodramatic, quite frankly, ridiculous even, and yet... You think you can remember that now? Your memory has been hopelessly jumbled as of late, like the contents of an old attic, but you can recall the crackling of wood, the smell of smoke. Tongues of flame licked at your bedroom's walls, torching your bedpost, turning the once pastel wallpaper a dark, peeling black. Your old things were all melted, all of your clothes and the old diaries you used to write in, and the tin soldiers you played with as a child. Your windows warped from the heat, then shattered, spewing glass all across your carpet. You can remember it all now, in painful detail. The searing heat and the smoke in your eyes, which made them water. The flames might have been alarming, but it was the smoke which really made you panic. You knew it was the smoke which would kill you in the end. You were sure that you would be killed, too, as you stumbled clumsily from your burning bedchamber, which was synced and charred like a scene from the hell. Part of you had already forfeited your own life into the flames. But you've always been stubborn. That is the familiar refrain uttered by all who have known you, and you did your best to endure. You kept limping through the ruins of your once beautiful home, putting one foot in front of the other, and then...
A lot of people died in the fire. Your parents, all of the servants, your old grandmother too, and her servants who tended her. They all passed away, but you didn't. You tried to get away from the blaze, and you came very close to succeeding too. You were able to get all the way down to the stairs, into the entrance hall where you were incapacitated.
Incapacitated? You remember rather a lot from that fateful night now. The smell of smoke, being chief among them, of course, but you cannot remember how you actually left the house. Or even if you left the house at all. You thought the sanatorium strange, with its sinked and warped walls, the perpetual smell of smoke hanging in the air, but what if...
A whoop-then beam from the ceiling fell.
Your nurse continues.
It was dislodged from the flames. It must damage the structural integrity of the house, and it landed on top of you. So I saw that wooden beam slice through the air, and I saw how it hit you. It caught your right leg, and it crushed it.
Oof. Wait. How for? How would that work? If it fell from the top, you would assume it would like hit her head or whatever, but not just a leg.
You were knocked to the ground immobile, all of the breath driven from you. I think you passed out from the pain. I knew there was no way you could shift that wooden beam yourself, so I came to your aid. I was able to move the wooden beam from your unconscious body, for it took no shortage of effort. I burned my hands in the process.
Okay, in a way might explain why you have the gloves.
And I inhaled far too much smoke. I fear it might have caused my throat permanent injury.
Oh.
But that seemed a small price to pay for your safety.
Safety.
I was able to rescue you. I dragged you out of the house before it could collapse upon the both of us. And yes, I saved your life. If it were not for me, you would have been burned to crisp just like your parents, just like your servants. They are all gone now.
Yeah, but you do realize you basically like did that, right? Right? Your nurse looks at you archly, her eyes very red, two rubies set inside her skull. She observes you coolly, cruelly, as she says,
And you have nobody in the world you can rely on except me. There is nobody in the world who knows who you are, or where you are, but me. I'm the only person that you can gaze upon. I'm the only person who cares about you. I'm the only person who can decide who you are, what you must be. I saved your life, which means you are now my property. Your mother died, so I suppose I'm the next best thing. Like her, I've been sustaining your life. You would be dead without me, which means you are mine. And now we have this house, or what remains of it, all to ourselves. Everybody believes that you died in the blaze. Somebody will coming, looking for you. Nobody's going to trouble themselves over a corpse. So I can spend as much time with you as I desire. I can help you, and I can heal you. And when you finally begin to recover, I can shatter your hopes all over again. You cannot leave me, you know.
your nurse says, her eyes crinking in the corners.
I've made sure of that. There is nowhere, after all, for you to run to. There is nowhere for you to go. You're at home already, Elizabeth, in a lovely home I made for the two of us. There is no need to ever leave. Nobody will ever love you as much as I do.
Girl, okay. If you are, again, in a situation like this, just act more crazy than them. Lizzie, do you hear me? You just need to act more crazy than your nurse. So that's it. You already had some suspicious, but your nurse's words clinched. The home that you were dreaming of, the aristocratic home with the red brick walls fringed with acres of verdant green, doesn't exist, not anymore. It's been burned to the ground, reduced to ashes and rubble. Your nurse, who is not really a nurse, raised your path to the ground when she tried to build your present upon its carcass. You say that a nurse who is not a nurse, but if she's been broken your leg over and over, and well, you were able to walk, so she's able to reconstruct, that's crazy. Especially since apparently she's a peasant. The sanatorium is no sanatorium. It is what remains of your old home, burned and withered and wasted. You have no home to return to, you have no family. You only have the nurse, and it sounds as if you have been relying on her for a very long time. Is that true?
Yes, I suppose this. We've been here for, I don't know, perhaps a year now. It's hard for me to say. Time does not seem to pass as it should. Not that I have any need to observe the minutes as they go by. I already have what I want. There's nothing more desire, so I have no need to think upon tomorrow. I need only today, an endless string of them.
And to secure these endless days, that she insists upon saving you over and over again.
That's right. I knew you would understand. It is ingenious, isn't it?
Says your nurse. And though you cannot see her mouth, you are sure she's smiling.
You wake and I tend to you, and to recover. When I break your poor legs anew and stuff you full of valerian, and you forget everything. You wake again with no memories of who you are and where you came from.
And then the process begins anew.
Indeed, it continues like this. On and on and on, perpetuating itself like an Ouroboros. You know what that is, don't you?
The snake you have nursed Starly, who eats its own tail.
That's exactly what I mean. Good girl.
Your nurse says, her voice soft and low.
The snake will continue to eat its tail, for it has no choice. These things will keep on going over and over for all eternity.
Yikes.
Like that infinite snake, my love for you is boundless. It will never kiss.
Damn.
I have yet to tire of forcing my love upon you, my dear Elizabeth. So,
Your nurse says, her eyes hardening.
I will never let you leave. I can't. That is how much I love you.
You need to act more crazy than her. Your nurse adjusts her grip upon the handle of the hammer as she speaks, her bony fingers about it tightening. She takes a step forwards, and the floorboards creak beneath her in pained protest. It sounds as though they are crying out in anguish. Perhaps they have seen too much, but the nurse does not slow down. Her fingers grip the handle of the hammer all the more tightly. She raises it.
I apologize, Elizabeth. I don't want to hurt you. You know, it is just I love you so much I can't help myself. For I wouldn't expect you to understand. As a lady, I doubt you have ever wanted anything you couldn't have this much before. You've never been driven to madness. But who knows? Maybe if we repeat this cycle enough, that will change. Maybe I'll finally be able to impress my feelings upon you, and you will finally understand. I just hope they don't warp you too much. My beloved Elizabeth!
Then she brings the hammer down. The head of the hammer, hard and immovable as silver which glistens in the moonlight, strikes your right leg, which has only just begun to heal.
Oh shit, she broke it in one hit!
It strikes you hard like lightning, without a moment's pause, without a moment's mercy. pain flares up inside your leg, a pain so sharp and intense like broken glass that you scream from it. You scream until your vocal cords threaten to tear, until they threaten to warp and distort, just like those of the nurse. It hurts. You knew it would hurt, but it hurts more than you had ever imagined, and your imagination has always been exceptionally good for a young woman. For that is one thing your nurse was mistaken about. She claimed that, as a lady, you had never wanted for anything, that you had never known what it was like to yearn for something so intensely it split you apart. But she's wrong! You had never wanted to be born as a woman. You were sick of it, actually. The femininity forced onto you, stuffed into your mouth with such a cloying sweetness you feared you would choke on it. You railed against all of the fancy dresses, the fancy hairstyles, the future of being wedded to a man you did not care for. You would far rather go riding or hunting or swimming or climbing. You had always wanted to shape your own future, to be the master of your own destiny. You do not want to be a lady, and you most definitely do not want to be a victim. You do not want to be an eternal patient, confined to a bed with broken limbs which refuse to move. If the nurse knew anything about you, as she claims to, she would know that you do not want this, have never wanted this. She would know not to call you Elizabeth, Eliza. Both names are ill-fitting, like a pair of trousers, too short in the ankle. This is not who you are. That is not how you regard yourself. But you are incapable of telling your nurse this, your savior and your tormentor both. You cannot speak for the pain, it hurts too much. You feel your delicate bones broken so many times, breaking once more beneath the blow of the nurse's hammer. Her love is so intense you can feel it, reshaping your body, reforming it. First she loved you as a lady, now she loves you as her patient. She loves you only when she can force you into the mold that she desires. Oh yeah, that is kinda very big problem. So she has that weird imagination about you, right? That you are perfect, but you are only perfect the way she wants you to be. And so on. That is very bad. Basically, you have that. She has that fake image, sort of you. I think that can be a thing for a lot of people, even in real life. They claim to be in love and so on, but they have the fake image of sorts, especially about people they don't actually know. Anyway. Her love is not as intense and all-encompassing as she might claim. It is highly conditional, but aren't all things in life? Yeah, exactly. I mean, the first part. Your nurse would not be the only one ignorant of her own true motives. She does not understand your heart. And now, nobody ever will. You are doomed to be nurse's plaything from now until the ends of eternity. That's a very long time. Until your body eventually gives up from the strain of it all, and you pass away. Perhaps you're beginning to hit your limits already? I mean, if in a span of a year, if in the time of the year basically, she claimed to have broken your leg 4 or 5 times, I mean, just that. I can't imagine it's a good thing for you. And also, like, she gave you that Valerian or whatever quite a few times. Not to mention you're kind of losing memory. There is nothing good about it at all, obviously. I would not be surprised if the human organism, after something like that, would actually decide to cut off, sort of. Anyway, you succumb bit by bit to your own inevitable end. To the inevitability, not perhaps of the grave, not just yet at least, but to another cycle of abuse you haven't the strength to endure. But no, this is not a past you wish to recall. This is not the past you wish to reclaim. Did you not see any other paths available to you as you drifted? Any other lives which might conclude in a more satisfactory manner? No? Why don't you reach out and see, quickly, now, while you still can? Why don't you See who else you might have been. And what else you might become. Well, actually, you know what? Never mind. Have we finally reached the end? Is it time for the finale? Oh goody, I was waiting for this. I was trying to be patient as I observe you from afar, examining your dreams, but no longer do I need to situate myself in the shadows. Found it's time for me to take the central stage. It looks as though you are finally beginning to wake, for you will not awake in your 4-poster bed, or a single synced hospital room, or at a desk in that messy old atelier. There is only one place for you to wake now, only one place for you to return to. There is nothing left save my laboratory, and for me to welcome you to the world of the living! Oh, is this Dr. Godwin?
Hello, Eve. It's good to finally meet you. Do you know who I am?
Perhaps not, if you're drawing a blank, but of course I know what your name is. How could I not when I'm the one who gave you it? Were it not for me, you would not have a name to call your own, would not have a body, would not have a life. I think it's her saying that, but whatever. You exist because of me. I'm the one who brought you into the world, and I did so without the aid of any man at all. Yikes. I have created life with my own 2 hands, not from my womb, molding you as I did in my own likeness to suit my own aesthetic tastes. Is that not interesting? You might not agree. I see you shrink away from me, but I find it rather fascinating. I'm not a religious woman, you see. One cannot be, I suppose, in this line of work, but if I was, I would liken your birth to a miracle. I do not mean to flatter myself, but it very much does seem like sort of event which ought to be recorded in a Bible. Like a new Bible, maybe. Why, I might very well be the next Virgin Mary. Do you not find that amusing? No? You aren't even going to smile? Well, that's fine. You have only just woken from your long slumber. I would not be surprised if your senses are a little adult at the moment. Also, this is the first time where we don't have a frame. It might take you a while to adjust, my darling Eve. So while you gather your bearings, I shall explain everything to you. You do not need to interject, so do not feel compelled. Even if you were to try, I'm unsure whether you will succeed. I'd not give you a tongue, after all, or any teeth. Ugh! I thought it prudent to take preventative methods, shall we say, upon your waking, so you cannot bite through your own tongue. That must be terrible. I might seem like an easygoing woman, but really would be rather cross if you tried to end your life mere seconds upon waking from the sheer horror of it all. I know, dear. Oh, I get it. So that Eve has been basically created from parts of bodies of different people. But somehow, thanks to each part coming from a different person, Eve gets to have dreams of their past. And I'm guessing also the parts of all of those bodies must be coming from people who have basically gone through some kind of torment. Interesting. That is interesting. Crazy, but interesting. I know, dear, I know. It must be alarming being woken in such a manner, but it is all for the greater good. Your life is a huge scientific breakthrough. You are a medical marvel. From 3 disparate girls. Oh my god, I was correct. Their parts soon and stitched together, a new life has been born. You are free. Justine, Elizabeth, and Caroline, yet you are not any of them. You are your own being, a creature wholly unique to you. You know what? Here's a cool idea, maybe. Maybe not really cool. Actually, no, I mean, you called her Eve, so that kinda maybe wouldn't work, but... Then again, if you called her Eve, it would be cool if she was like... you know, Elizabeth, I don't know, Victoria, and... what's another E? name. Female name. I was about to say Yvonne, but that starts with an I, doesn't it? Eleanor. Oh. Whatever. You are your own being, a creature wholly unique to you. And I am your mother!
I'm your mother. I'm your sister.
I'm your goddess and your savior and your creator and anything else I wish to be. You, meanwhile, are my finest creation to date. What happened to your eye, by the way? The first successful cadaver I've been able to reanimate. It really is wonderful, eh? I can't overstate how proud I am to look at you, dear. You're truly adorable. Minus the grey skin, of course, and that smell. And lack of teeth and tongue. It has posed something of a challenge, I will admit, to prevent your body from decaying when you are comprised of 3 corpses sewn together, but hey, nobody's perfect, not even me. I've not been able to overcome every obstacle in my way. You're still rotting, I suppose, very slowly, mind, but progress has been made. You're awake and you are alive, and I think you are cognizant too. I know you understand me, even if you cannot speak. I can see the recognition in your eyes. I would ask you to call me Mama, but I've never been a big family person. I never did care for my own mother, so you needed bother. I wouldn't be surprised if you experimented on her. I'm afraid I might find that somewhat cloying. And in a case you can speak, you have no teeth, no tongue. Technically you don't need teeth to speak, right? So the tongue is a problem. Did I mention that already? Yes, you did. I did. Whoops, I'm sorry. I'm so excited, you see, that one of my experiments finally panned out that I'm a bit all over the place. But never mind, never mind. You know, I did always find it fun that Christians claim God made them in his own image. If that is true, then why were we humans given the means to defy our God, our maker, our creator? I mean, in a way, true. In a way, you are actually not incorrect. That's for sure. Do you think if God made humans in his own image, does that mean God also had some kind of cancer? Anyway, why did he give us brains so that we might question him, mouths so that we might mock him, bodies that we might defile him? I always told myself that, if I succeeded in becoming God, I would not give my own creation the chance to oppose me. Makes sense. I would not allow it. That seems like a truly logical course of action. But I'm getting distracted once again. It is a bad habit of mine. I apologize. Now to business. Ahem. I believe I already told you what you are and how you came to be, but I will be more clear. You're a fusion, like I said, of 3 girls who met tragic ends. Justine, Elizabeth, and Caroline. I collected these limp, lifeless bodies, perhaps you could say I was donated them. Oh. They were just going to cause a mess, after all, stinking like that and going rotten, which would be such a waste. They were so beautiful in life and they were loved. Oh yes. These girls were all loved excessively to the point of madness, annihilation, destruction. The women who loved them, well, they were little more than girls themselves, could not endure what they had done, what their madness had wrought. So they gave these girls to me, all 3 of them. They all begged me, asking me whether I could not breathe life into them anew, whether I could not use my superior intellect to revive them. I must say it was satisfying when the little scientist girl, the medical student with the lofty ideas, confessed, her eyes full of tears, she hadn't knowledge after all to put her beloved sister together again. Yeah, what a surprise. But that is neither here nor there. I accepted the profane offerings presented by these suffering girls, all of them afflicted by their own madness, and I took these girls in. I vowed that I would do my best to save them. And as you can see, you do have eyes, even if you do not have teeth or a tongue. You don't need technically those to see. I was successful. In part at least. I could not revive these girls as they were, 3 whole separate beings, so I had to make a compromise or 2. Or 3. These girls had all been dead for quite some time, especially poor Caroline, and they had begun to smell. Different parts of them had putrefied, and not even I could not salvage them all. Instead, I had to take a more creative approach. I took the best bits from each girl, the organs which still functioned, the skin which had yet to turn blue, and I here along there a few fingers for each hand, and I stitched them together. Under my expert hands, 3 girls became one shared consciousness with a heart in pieces, come together like a patchwork quilt, an electric current running through the skull. That would be you, of course, my dear Eve, my most impressive, ambitious creation. I've dabbled in transmuting human consciousness between vessels and running currents through the brains of those long dead, but never before have I been able to breathe life into death so completely to create life where before there was none. You're nothing but meat, my dear, a collection of skin and bones doomed for a cemetery before I got my hands on you. You were nothing more than cold, dead flesh, 3 cold and beating hearts which had begun to rot and wear you away. But now you've been granted life anew by my own 2 hands. I've rescued you. I've revived you. And now I'll rehabilitate you. I'll teach you how to be a proper girl, a real girl, a perfect girl. I won't let you be a helpless milkshop like Justine, not a wayward slattern like Elizabeth, not a spineless psychophant like Caroline. I'll fashion you with my own hands into the ideal woman. You need to give her teeth and tongue then, you know. You will be my very own Eve, the first truly immaculate being to grace the world, and then... I see you rolling your eyes at me. Yes, you don't think I haven't realized. You think I'm insane, mother? Yes, you are. Mad as a hatter and the march here both. Just madder even than the girls, the 3 girls who caused so much chaos. And do you know what? You might be right. Perhaps I'm mad, but it's all part of the job. I'm afraid one cannot help but turning to madness after being in such a close proximity with death. I defy anybody to regain their sanity in full working order after spending so much time with corpses, plunging their arms all the way up to the elbow in blood and sinew and tough, chewy muscle. I doubt there is any other scientist who would have done what I have. So, fine, call me mad, with your mouth which cannot speak, that empty cavern without tongue or teeth. Call me what you like, your words won't reach me, you can only insult me inside your head. And anyway, my mother always did tell me, only sticks and stones may break my bones. I'm quite immune to name calling. That's good. That's very good, actually. Being immune to name calling is good. Now look, I know this is a lot for you to take in. I understand you're going through your rebellious phase, but it won't last for long. You are the pinnacle of my research. 24 long, painstaking years of taking bodies apart only to put them back together, so I cannot let you fail. 24 long years, you say? Damn. I don't mind taking my time with you. It took me 2 decades to get to this point, and I'm not about to recount my studies now. I've heard tales of great scientists who throw their lives away on their magnum opuses, only to recoil in horror once they see the reality of what they have created, of what they have brought into this world. But I'm not like that. Fickle and feckles, I mean. I don't love you unless now you're awake than I did when you still slept, electric currents pulsating in your head. I'm your mother, yes I am. I made you, which makes you my daughter, no matter how malformed. I could never ever throw you away. That would run contrary to my very nature, for you see, I have a far bigger heart than you might imagine. My heart beats only for me, unlike yours. It was not stitched together from 3 different girls, but still it contains within it multitudes. I couldn't say that I love humanity very much, but I utterly adore you. You are all I have ever wanted. And now I have brought you back to life, melded all of your consciousness together. I will never let you go. I gave you my no mouth, so you cannot speak, much less scream. Oh, so there is no teeth, no tongue, and basically no mouth. Okay. That's kind of crazy. I mean, all of that was crazy, but yeah. But I can see that defiance in your eyes. It seems you wish to rebel against me. Are you not happy with your lot in life? Do you not wish to be my creation? Tell me, my dear daughter, are you thinking of escaping from me? Oh yeah, there is no more slots. Nod your head. Oh, you wish to defy me, do you? And how exactly do you propose to do that? You are strapped to an operating table at the moment, my dear Eve, and you cannot move. Your skinny wrists and ankles are bound in solid steel. You can try to pull away from your restraints if you desire, but your body is weak, your flesh horribly vulnerable. If you try to free yourself through force, you will succeed only in scraping the skin of your bones, and your skin is in a poor state already. It is beginning to grey in places, you know, because your patchwork heart is struggling to supply enough blood to your extremities. Can't you see, dear daughter? The tips of your fingers are starting to go black. You're in no state to defy me. How then? Are you going to impede my progress? Wait. Don't tell me. You don't mean to retreat back into your dreams, do you? Are you going to defy me by inaction, by inertia, by falling asleep and escaping your past lives? Do you think you can avoid these outcomes sitting in my lap at my mercy if only the girls who now compromise your lovely body made different choices? Do you want to relive their final moments once more? Well, by all means, go ahead. Feel free to try, dear one. But the past you know is well and truly in the past. You might be able to relive ghosts of these girls' memories. Their bodies are your own. After all, their histories engrave upon your decaying flesh, but you cannot influence them. Escape you wish inside your own mind. But I will be waiting here for you, and this cycle will begin anew once more. You can try to run if you like inside your mind, but your flesh is weak and willing. Your body will fall apart with my say so, and then you will be nothing less than nothing. Don't forget, dear one, I am the one who made you. I'm your creator, and nobody can defy the goddess who granted them life. You will live on, whether you want to or not. You have no other choice. By all means, try to escape me if you can. Let us see, do your best. As a woman of science, I'm intrigued to see whether a creation can truly best her creator. Struggle if you can, but in the end, I will always hold. With all of those words, you kinda make me want to have a look at what would happen if I didn't go into like waking up with the girls and so on. So gallery has this one only. Credits. Notes. Alright, let's read the notes quickly. Hello, Brady, and thank you for reading Your Glass Heart is in my hands. I hope you enjoyed reading it, because I mostly enjoyed writing it. Yeah. As always, I'll talk a little bit about my thought process while writing the story, what inspired it, and other bits and pieces of trivia I think might be interesting. So this story is something of a companion piece to my previously released Yuri visual novel, It Gets So Lonely Here. It has an identical structure, 3 love interests, each with their own story, all wrapped up in larger framing narrative and told in second person, and it deals with similar subject matter, yandere lesbians. I think the tone between those two stories is pretty different for... yeah. Yeah. Lonely was inspired by fairy tales. Well, yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. More like... Lonely was kinda magic. And here you have more like alchemy, right? Lonely was inspired by fairy tales, while the biggest inspiration behind Glass Heart is obviously Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Okay. The 3 protagonists of these stories, Justine, Elizabeth, and Caroline, are named after female characters in Frankenstein who, spoilers, end up dying. And Victoria Godwin is obviously taking a few cues from Victor Frankenstein. For Victoria is less pathetic than Victor Lemao. I've been turning over ideas for a Frankenstein-inspired visual novel, capital letters, for a very long time actually. In fact, the very first visual novel, capital letters, I wrote, which I did not end up releasing, had a Frankenstein's monster-inspired heroine. The protagonist could run into his school's biology classroom, who was creature pieced together by the unhitched school nurse. As an aside, I think the nurse might have been inspired by Iwa Mine from Hatoful Boyfriend. Hatoful Boyfriend. I think I know this title. Dude, I'm so worried of touching the cable connecting to my... Oh yeah, it's the pigeon game. Of course, dude, just the idea of this game brings my hatred, because I hate pigeons, man. I don't want to see this big game, okay? Just because I hate pigeons. If I never released this visual novel, it was pretty rough around the edges. I did want to write a story with a cute Frankenstein's monster-inspired heroine at some point. It was an idea I kept in my pocket for a while, which I decided to take out and polish off when I saw that the toxic Yuri jam was going to be a thing. I figured I should take this as an opportunity to write that Frankenstein-inspired story of my dreams. And I suppose I might have been somewhat inspired by the Chambersofts' free horror visual novel Absolutely Perfect Specimen. I don't recognize this title, I'm not gonna lie. Absolutely Perfect Specimen. Visual... actually, let's write Chambersoft. Oh, is it only on Edge? Oh, okay. I'm in a different browser, so... oh boy. Will each let me without logging in? Good. Horror visual novel about the android maid and her master. Follow the maid over the course of the year as she has the hunger and dysphoria. I don't even remember seeing that thing while browsing through each. What the heck? Then again, for me, when I browse through each and so on, it relies a lot on like what I see, and basically if I think if I browsed through each and hover over the game, I think from what I've seen I would not basically pick this game. But now that you mention it, who knows, maybe in the future, I don't know. We'll see. Where did I finish? Oh, there we are. Which has some similar Frankenstein-esque theming and a hot, dummy scientist lady. Well, hot questionable, because of what I mentioned earlier. Victoria might be some amalgamation of Frankenstein's Victor Frankenstein, Perfect Specimens, Dr. Emi and Uma Musume. Agnes Tachyon mentioned, let's go! Agnes is great. Agnes is fantastic. Agnes Tachyon. For I have yet to win her career. I did one approach and I think I lost in... was it quarters final or semi-final? I don't remember. Obviously one with Sakura Bakushin O. Bakushin. Managed to win with Super Creek as well. And with Gold Ship. Also, I don't know with Gold Ship, like, a lot of people were complaining how she, like, refuses to train or something like that and whatever, and I'm like, didn't happen for me. Like, one time the only thing she would want was, I just want to the speed training, and I'm like, fine. I had no issues other than that, really. Anyway. So I knew I wanted to write a story with a morally dubious doctor who's piecing together the daughter disciple of her dreams from corpses, a la Victor Frankenstein, but I wasn't sure if that would enough to sustain a whole story. Well, it did. My actual ideas were pretty vague, so I sat on the idea for a while. Dude, says a person that like releases, I don't know, 5 games a year. It's like hard to believe what you say. Like, dude, I don't know, man. Like, ebi-hime like releases the games. Like, it's so easy. At least it seems like that. Let's see. Okay. Of course, each is a pain to look at because, yeah. Let's see. It's the year 2005, and you have. I mean, you have 4 games on Steam. This year only. 4 games. So, counting Steam and let's say exactly what we are playing right now, that's 5 games, right? I would not be surprised if more of them. Okay, so this is on both. This is on both. Cage, okay. All Ashes and Illusions was which year? Okay, this is 2022. The thing is, I think on Age... Actually, I don't know what order it is on Age. That's the issue. On Steam, at least, I see that it's date by date. Anywho. Oh yeah, upcoming releases on Steam. I see 2 games for 2025 scheduled. Honestly, how are you doing that? At some point I remember also seeing the post of ebi-hime like giving her stories for someone else to basically maybe make a game out of it. That would be freaking amazing as well, to be fair. Anyway. Until I thought, why don't I give some spotlight to the victims whose bodies are harvested to create Victoria's ideal daughter. I thought that might be fun and I could do a homage to Lonely by giving each victim their own story and their own unhitched love interest. I mean, with the first 2 stories you could say... Yeah, with the first 2 stories you could say the ones that had to go through the torment have loved the other one, right? Just with the last one it was not a thing. Like the last one was basically one-sided love. Anyway. If I made the Frankenstein elements the framing narrative, then it would give me more freedom to explore other characters and themes in the main portion of the narrative. Wow, how fun! Like the framing narrative, I decided to use miscellaneous ideas I'd had floating around for a while as the backbone of the 3 main stories. I like the maid mistress dynamic a lot, so I'd wanted to write something like this for a while, and the scholar story was mostly a means to explore the Frankenstein theme in a little more depth. The nurse story is probably the most interesting one. Maybe? Maybe. Funnily enough, I had to take a sort of break from getting to that 3rd one. But it was not obviously because of my lack of interest. I just lacked time. Appropriate amount of time and so on to sit in one go. Was it the most interesting one? Maybe. At least, in my opinion. It happens to be my favorite. I mean, the nurse in general was my favorite design. So. Anyway, the nurse story was pulled from an idea I had for a few years. About waking up in an eerie hospital and being tormented by a cute nurse who seems to know you better than you know you. Right. I originally planned this to be a sadistic boy-girl VN. No. With a similar atmosphere to Sweetest Monster. Sweetest Monster. This is your game, I believe, isn't it? I think it was on Steam as well. Oh yeah, that's the one that has the 2nd part and Steam didn't allow it, right? For whatever reason. Do I remember correctly? I think I do. Alright, I will turn on Steam. I don't know why I don't have Steam switched on right now for. Maybe because I'm recording a game from Itch, but at the same time I don't have Streamlabs open, but I have like clean proper OBS. Oh no, I actually don't have this one. I have a few games from you as well, like purchased, wishlisted, and so on. I truly need to go my Steam backlog. And what is happening? I get more games from Itch again. Damn it! But yeah, with the recent events on Itch, right? And as I mentioned at some point as well, I basically browse through the official releases every evening. Itch, Steam, and so on. And with Itch, I bookmark the games, right? So I went through all my bookmarks. From 2000 bookmarks of games in development, it switched to like 900 now. And no, it's not because games have been deleted, okay? Somewhere, but there were not that many. I had some games bookmarked like 20 times. Because apparently some devs are like, alright, new game. Actually, I mean the same game, but update. So we'll republish it and so on. So yeah. I also got rid of some games because I've decided, you know what? You are not linking to any of your socials or anything. I will kinda pass on that then. Because I think at some point I downloaded one of those where, you know, the dev did not add any of the socials at all. And I think one of those files have been infected. So yeah, no longer need that. Anyway, basically what I'm getting at, I've gotten to a point where I have, again on my hard drive, 31 games. Damn it, I freaking was so close to clearing entire Itch and be freed from it. And on the desktop I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 I think. 17 with what we are playing right now. However, some of them I need to check out if there's something I can play on YouTube. Anyway, back to the the notes. Where did I finish? Oh yeah, Sweetest Monster, but I retooled it a bit for this narrative. It was also inspired by the ominous cardiac song Nurses Whispering Verses, which is one of my favorite songs. Browser. Okay, I will not play it, but I will have a listen afterwards. Nurses Whispering Verses. Alright. Which is one of my favorite songs. I'd been wanting to write a horror story which captures the same oppressive mood as Nurses for a while, so I'm glad I was able to manage it. Eve, the Frankenstein monster in the framing narrative, was brought in this world by Victoria, with no say in the matter whatsoever. She's clearly unhappy about this, yet is offered no choice to express her feelings, for she has not been given the ability to speak. Victoria claims to love Eve, yet how sincere is her love when she refuses to give her a creation the means to question her? Ezra similarly is forced into being both an eternal patient and a young lady by a nurse who claims to love her. But how can she love Ezra if she does not... Wait, Ezra? Wasn't it Elizabeth? If she does not know how she regards herself and how she would prefer to be addressed. The nurse's lack of care makes the strength of her emotions ring hollow, which is a bit of a recurring theme here. You could say the same thing about the maid, who uses her love for Justine as an excuse to murder her family without first consulting her, or about the scholar whose love for Caroline does not stop her from operating on her. Not like dissecting on her, but okay. Love is often portrayed as being selfless, but this is not a romance story. This is a yandere story. And across each of those narratives, love is a destructive force which causes people pain. Our three protagonists die for the sake of this love, which is forced upon them. But in two of the cases, there was a mutual feeling, right? Only the last one wasn't. And both Justine and Ezra are fairly unhappy about this. But Caroline is built different, so she's pretty okay with in the end. Ahahaha. Right. Anyway, by the by, the scholar's route ended up being the longest. Did it? I mean, I had longer editing time, that's for sure. I think this one will come lengthier, actually. Holy shit, it will be hitting 3 hours. Almost. Oh, I have to edit this today and publish it today. Oh no. By the way, the Scholar's Route ended up being the longest because I had so much to set up here. In Lonely, I was able to blitz through the character introductions because each heroine was a stranger to our protagonist, but Caroline and the Scholar have both known one another from childhood. Okay, as such I had to spend a bit of time establishing their shared backstory, which maybe means her story is the most robust. I'm not wholly sure. I'll have to see what people think of this story, and whether they enjoy it. In any case, thank you for reading my ramblings. I have a little more to say about the story too, mostly in regards to how it relates to Lonely, but I'll do that later. Maybe if you go through the story again, I'll have something else to say. Who knows? Until then, Abby. Are you telling me I have to go through the story again? Not today! Not today. I still have 3 hours of content to edit, so, yeah. I mean, fantastic game. What can I say? Fantastic game. I wish I did not have, like, weird troubles going around while playing it now. Mainly with the mic. I also think maybe with the software and so on. And so on, and so on. Also, I think my monitor might be trying to die soon. One of them. Funnily enough, the one that is younger. No, that's not actually funny at all. I bet it's all Microsoft's doing. I bet it's all the updates they are doing. Yeah. No other option. No other option. Overall, though, I think the nurse's story was my favorite. Yeah, the last one. I assume there might be some difference to if we go. Oh, I see. It's gone. It's all gone. All my saves. It's wiped out. All of them. All 6. Damn it. How do I go about it? I wonder. I might do a reconnaissance of my own. What is going to happen if we jump into the story and so on. If there will be something I notice that is different, I might do basically a video out of it. And obviously we might jump into the credits as well. And by that I mean notes, because there might be something different here, right? Yeah. So I guess I need to do my research. But yeah, for today that's it. 3-hour long video, I assume, something like that. Hope you enjoyed. If you haven't checked the previous 2, but yeah, the playlist is in the description. Of course, link to the game in the description as well. Go get it yourself. It's free on Itch. Yeah. And well, that's about it. That's about it. If you enjoyed, consider liking the video. If you're new around, consider subscribing, of course, when I was about to say that I touched the damn microphone cable and it disconnected. Dude, I'm afraid I might even need to replace a mic. What a problem. What a problem. Because, well, Recently I did replace headphones, I did replace a gamepad. Dude, like it's like everything decided to maybe try to break at the same time. Like, microphone arm is gone. I was kinda awaiting a new one to arrive today. It was supposed to arrive today. They, on the other side, did not pack it at all, right? I'm like, alright, freak it. I will order from someone else then, right? I will like, alright, cancel and so on. 2 hours later, after I cancelled, so we've sent it. Damn it. Yeah, I'll have to deal with that later. Because it will arrive. Tomorrow, I guess. I'll see. I'll see. Maybe I will write that. You know what? I will actually not give it back. But I will have to, like, kind of try test around now with the mic. Or just with the cable. It's worse if it's not the cable, but the connection in the mic for. Alright, you are not interested in any of that. Let's end the video. I wish you all a fantastic day, and well, we'll see tomorrow if we'll jump into more of Your Glass Heart in my hands, depending on my research, or we'll play something else. We'll see. But yeah, for now, have a wonderful day, and hopefully, well, nothing will be breaking on your side like it does on mine now. I'm out. Bye-bye.